Chapter 3106. It's a pity that I couldn't say goodbye to her personally. But don't be sad, Brother Linny. She went to improve her strength. In fact, I also want to improve my strength as soon as possible to help Brother Linny. Han Jingjing said seriously. And Jingjing, if there's nothing else, you can go back. I won't disturb you. All right, what are you researching? Lin, he asked curiously. Han Jingjing had been in seclusion for a while, but Lin, he didn't know what she was researching. Hee, it's related to alchemy. I'm sure it can help Brother Linny. You'll know when the time comes. Han Jingjing said mysteriously. Then, she suddenly smiled and blinked her eyes cutely. Actually, it's because I haven't succeeded yet. If I don't succeed, I'm afraid Shield Bro will laugh at me for being an idiot. How can that be? Lin, he smiled. Then I won't ask. You should go back early. And Han Jingjing nodded. It was getting late. She had to go back. Thinking about the things she had to do, Han Jingjing couldn't help but feel a headache. Lin, he didn't expect Han Jingjing to leave so quickly. She didn't hesitate at all. She left Lin Yi's mansion and returned to her own mansion. Sister, you're back. Han Xiaoqiao was surprised to see Han Jingjing back. After all, he hadn't seen her for a while. And Han Jingjing nodded. I still have things to do. You go first. Han Jingjing said and didn't pay much attention to Han Xiaoqiao. She went straight upstairs. Lin, he didn't stay idle either. He brought the elixirs that Han Jingjing had refined and headed to the Cultivator Trade Association. What he wanted to do was to wait until the experts from the Dongfang family arrived. He went to the Cultivator Trade Association to sell the elixirs in his hands and exchange them for some money. When Dongfang Bruo came looking for trouble, Lin, he would go back. However, Lin, he had underestimated the enthusiasm of the masters from the Dongfang family. He didn't come this morning, but took a plane to East Ocean City last night. There was actually a reason why this expert from the Dongfang family was so proactive. It was because he was the younger brother of the deceased Dongfang Jian, and his name was Dongfang Hard. Dongfang Chong came this time to help Dongfang Bruo deal with Su Shirhan. But the first thing he did was not find Dongfang Bruo. Instead, he went to the Cultivator Trade Association to investigate the cause of his brother's death. Of course, this was something that Dongfang Jinxing had tacitly agreed to. After all, Dongfang Jinxing also wanted to know how Dongfang Jian had died. Moreover, Dongfang Hao also wanted to go to the Cultivator Trade Association to see if he could buy medicinal ingredients for Dongfang Bruo's cultivation. Lin Yi smoothly entered the Cultivator Trade Association's market square. He dialed Vice President Ouyang's number. Mr. Ling. Vice President Ouyang picked up the phone, a little surprised. After Lin Yi killed a master from the Dongfang family, he still dared to call him? Although he withstood the pressure and hid it well, paper can't cover fire. That day, Vice President Ouyang wasn't the only one at the scene. Although the others were all solo cultivators. Even if they were solo cultivators, what if the Dongfang family came looking for them? It's me, Vice President Ouyang. I'm at the Cultivator Trade Association's market square. Are you there? I have something to talk to you about. Linny said, Yes, I'm in the office. You can come find me directly. Vice President Ouyang said. Linny brought the medicinal pills and came to Vice President Ouyang's office with ease. Vice President Ouyang, how have you been? Mr. Ling, you're here. Vice President Ouyang stood up and smiled at Lin. May I know why Mr. Ling is here this time? Vice President Ouyang, I have some finished medicinal pills in my hands. Can you do me a favor and help me exchange some money? I'm a little short of money recently. As Linny spoke, he put all the medicinal pills he brought on Vice President Ouyang's desk. Vice President Ouyang's face suddenly became a little ugly. Looking at the medicinal pills that Lin Yi put on the table, he didn't know how to explain to Linny. What's wrong? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Vice President Ouyang, do you have any difficulties? Mr. Ling, to tell you the truth, our Cultivator Trade Association has just sent a notice, and it was personally issued by the great honorary president. We are not allowed to sell medicinal pills privately. All our medicinal pills will be exclusively supplied by the Heavenly Elixir sect in the future. Vice President Ouyang said with some difficulty. Although I also have a backer in the Cultivator Trade Association, I can't disobey the great honorary president's words. Heavenly Elixir Sect? Lin, he was suddenly a little puzzled. Don't they refine high-level medicinal pills? They also want to occupy the market for level 1 and level 2 medicinal pills? I'm not sure what's going on. Suddenly, Elder Kong from the Heavenly Elixir Sect came to our Cultivator Trade Association to cooperate. They are responsible for providing a large number of level 1 and level 2 medicinal pills to us, and they signed an agreement with the great honorary president to exclusively supply medicinal pills to us. Vice President Ouyang explained, so I hope Mr. Ling can forgive us. Elder Kong. Linny frowned and immediately thought of Kong Ming Ming. This kid wanted to cut off his source of wealth, but how did he know that he came here to sell medicinal pills? Could it be that he sent someone to investigate? But what was his purpose in doing this? At most, this would cut off his source of wealth, but it would not hurt his foundation. This would at most disgust him. Could it be that it was to disgust him? In this way, Linny could not help but admire Kong Ming Ming. He actually had such great ability to influence the decision of the Heavenly Elixir Sect and let the alchemists of the Heavenly Elixir Sect refine so many level 1 and level 2 medicinal pills in large quantities. How much manpower and material resources did it take? Moreover, although these level 1 and level 2 medicinal pills did not seem cheap compared with level 3 medicinal pills, it was really a world of difference. Lin Yi could not imagine that the entire Heavenly Elixir Sect would waste the physical strength and true chi of the alchemists to refine these garbage just to disgust him. Was there something wrong with their heads? Yes, it is Elder Kong. He is a newly promoted elder of the Heavenly Elixir Sect. It is said that his words in the Heavenly Elixir Sect carry a lot of weight. Vice President Ouyang said, so, Mr. Ling, I hope you will not make things difficult for me. I have no other choice. Chapter 3107. Thinking of this, Lin Yi could only say, then there's no other way. Let's cooperate again in the future. Yes, you also know that although our Cultivator Trading Association is not afraid of the Heavenly Elixir Sect, we don't want to offend a powerful ancient sect because of such a small matter. This is not in line with our interests, and no matter how strong Mr. Ling is, he is only one person. Unless Mr. Ling can come up with enough background or enough benefits, it will be impossible to make our great honorary president change his mind. Vice President Ouyang said, after all, we are businessmen. Businessmen pursue profits. In addition to background, if the benefits are enough, we don't care about the Heavenly Elixir Sect. It's just that the elixirs provided by the Heavenly Elixir Sect, in terms of quality and price, are no weaker than yours, Mr. Ling, so I can't help you. I understand. As for reducing the price, Linny did not think about it. After all, Han Jingjing was very busy now and did not have a lot of time to refine elixirs. If the elixirs were sold at a cheaper price, Lin Yi would not be able to make much profit. This kind of business was not long-term, so Lin Yi was too lazy to let Vice President Ouyang fight for it. He just changed the topic and asked, excuse me, how is the matter with the Dongfang family? Have they sent anyone to ask about it? The Dongfang clan only asked me once through our president. However, I said that it was because a member of their clan had a conflict with someone when they were buying medicinal ingredients, causing the elder of the Dongfang clan to be beaten to death. However, the murderer ran very quickly, so we didn't see what he looked like. Vice President Ouyang said, Mr. Ling, at present, it is only the president who is pressuring me. I can still help you cover it up. But if it is the great honorary president who asks about it, I can't do anything. I understand. Lin Yi nodded. In this case, thank you, Vice President Ouyang. Wow. It turns out that you are in cahoots with each other. My brother died so miserably. While Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang were talking, Dongfang Hao rushed in. He was here to investigate the cause of Dongfang Jian's death. Of course, he was also a cautious person. He didn't ask anyone he met. Instead, he used his divine sense and mental strength to sense what the other people in the Cultivator Trade Association market were talking about. When he suddenly heard Vice President Ouyang and Lin Yi's conversation, He was instantly enraged and rushed over with a ferocious expression. The other party was an expert at the peak of the middle stage of heaven rank. Lin Yi's strength was lower than his, so it was difficult for him to sense his existence. Only when he revealed his strength did he realize that something was wrong. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Vice President Ouyang's office door was kicked open. Dongfang Hao appeared in front of them. "Who are you?" Vice President Ouyang frowned. He had naturally heard what Dongfang Chong had said earlier, and he could vaguely guess what was going on. He just didn't dare to confirm it. "Who am I? I am the brother of the deceased Dongfang Jian, Dongfang Jiang. So it was you two who colluded with each other to kill my brother. Today all of you must die." Dongfang Chong sneered and started chanting. A pair of pitchforks appeared in his hands. Obviously, it was his heaven-rank divine weapon. Lin Yi immediately frowned. He could indeed kill an expert at the peak of the middle stage of heaven rank, but that was based on a sneak attack when the opponent wasn't paying attention. Now, the expert in front of him was going all out and even took out a heaven-rank divine weapon. This made Lin Yi nervous. If he said that he was confident, he would be bragging. Therefore, Lin Yi shouted, "Vice President Ouyang, let's attack together. Otherwise, both of us will die today." Vice President Ouyang's expression suddenly changed. He could see that the person in front of him was very fierce. Dongfang Chong might have heard what he said before. Although he didn't kill Dongfang Jian, Dongfang Chong obviously didn't care. He regarded him as an accomplice of Lin Yi and was prepared to kill him together. After hesitating for a moment, Vice President Ouyang also knew that today's matter wouldn't end peacefully. Hence, he didn't stay any longer. He stretched his hand out from under his desk, and a huge saber appeared in his hands. This was his heaven-ranked divine weapon. The huge saber glowed with a dark blue light, and was clearly a top-grade divine weapon. Vice President Ouyang's cultivation technique was of the water element, and he had an elder of the second honorable president with him. Hence, the weapon in his hands definitely wouldn't be inferior. Just as Vice President Ouyang took out the blue blade, Dongfang Chong had already moved. His hands slightly shook, and suddenly, a woo-woo sound came from the pitchfork. It was as if it came from the depths of hell. A terrifying killing intent leaped out. That terrifying killing intent seemed to have materialized along with the sound as it was transmitted towards Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang. "Not good. Don't listen." Lin Yi's jade pendant suddenly transmitted a strong warning signal. Lin Yi knew that there was a problem with the sound and shouted at Vice President Ouyang. When Vice President Ouyang heard the sound, he was slightly stunned. His eyes had already become sluggish. At this moment, when he was shouted at by Lin Yi, he immediately sobered up and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The sound of the pitchfork was like a demonic sound. It instantly confused Vice President Ouyang's mind. This was a method that could affect the mind of others. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's reminder, he might have already become a ghost under Dongfang Chong's pitchfork. Although this matter was caused by Lin Yi and Dongfang Jian was killed by Lin Yi, Vice President Ouyang was still very grateful to Lin Yi. After all, Dongfang Chong didn't care so much. In his eyes, Vice President Ouyang was also a participant and would die without a doubt. Oomph. A puny heaven rank early stage was actually able to see through my demonic sound. Not bad. However, with the strength of the two of you, it is impossible for you to join hands and kill my big brother. Tell me, who else is your accomplice? I can give you a quick death and save you from being tortured." Dongfang Chong coldly snorted and arrogantly asked, "If you want to know, then you'll have to beat us first." Lin Yi didn't give Dongfang Chong a chance to speak. The Fushi 9 needles in his hand shot towards Dongfang Chong. Dongfang Chong's face suddenly became very ugly. He didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to take the initiative and ruin his plan. Chapter 3108. But because of this, Dongfang hard lost his patience. He raised his pitchfork and leaped towards Lin Yi. He could see that although Lin Yi was a heaven-rank early-stage expert, he was stronger than Vice President Ouyang and was able to see through his plans several times. Therefore, he decided to get rid of Lin Yi first before getting the truth out of Vice President Ouyang's mouth. "Brat, you're courting death. Dongfang Hard waved his pitchfork and blocked Lin Yi's Fushi 9 needles. With Lin Yi's heaven rank early stage strength, he had no advantage against Dongfang Hard, who was at the peak of heaven rank mid stage. On the other hand, Vice President Ouyang's blue saber was extremely fierce. After Lin Yi made his move, Vice President Ouyang also made his move. The blue saber and the pitchfork collided, creating a thunderous sound. Dongfang Hard was actually pushed back a step, but Vice President Ouyang was in a much more miserable state. He was pushed back 4 or 5 steps and almost fell to the ground. Lin Yi did not delay. Taking advantage of the fact that Dongfang Hard had yet to recover, he suddenly activated the 9th style of Raging Fire 8 trigrams palm and smashed it towards Dongfang Hard. However, Dongfang Hard was already on guard against Lin Yi. Seeing Lin Yi's martial skill coming towards him, he subconsciously dodged to the side. Although he didn't think that a heaven rank early stage expert like Lin Yi would be able to cause much damage to him, he didn't want to be injured. What he didn't expect was that he actually dodged correctly. When he saw Lin Yi's martial skill, he was a little dumbfounded. This was equivalent to the 15th style of heaven rank martial skill. If this hit his body, he would either die or be seriously injured. But how could Lin Yi use such a powerful martial skill? Until now, Dongfang Hard finally understood. His brother was really killed by Lin Yi. There was no need for anyone else to do anything. He had probably already fallen into Lin Yi's trap. Even so, half of Dongfang Hard's body was still burning with pain after being swept by Lin Yi's Raging Fire 8 trigram palm. His meridians had also suffered heavy internal injuries, causing Dongfang Hard to be extremely angry. Demonic tuning fork. Kid, die. At the same time Dongfang Hao shouted, the 2 steel forks in his hands once again emitted a woo-woo-woo sound, causing Lin Yi's mind to be distracted. It was as if his entire body was in a strange illusion. However, Lin Yi was already on guard against Dongfang Hao's tuning forks. At the same time the tuning forks sounded, Lin Yi also roared loudly. Dark Demon Hell Fist. Lin Yi's voice was very loud, using his voice to cover up the sound of the tuning fork. Since you want to play dirty tricks with me, I'll give it to you. I'll accompany you then. Lin Yi thought. Dongfang Hao was using the demonic tuning fork with all his might. He didn't dare to fight Lin Yi head-on now. That move just now had already made him a little afraid. So he was prepared to let Lin Yi lose his mind before making a move, but he didn't expect that. Lin Yi shouted loudly. He didn't know what he was calling for, but not only did Lin Yi not lose his mind, he even threw a punch. Dongfang Hao was using the demonic tuning fork with all his might. It was too late to dodge. Fortunately, he saw that the power of Lin Yi's punch was not as strong as before. He was confident that he could take it head-on, so he didn't mind. At this moment, Lin Yi was gritting his teeth. This was the last fight. The Raging Fire 8 trigram palm's 9th form had almost drained all of Lin Yi's physical strength, but didn't do anything to Dongfang Hao. So, Lin Yi could only use another ultimate move that he learned from Zhang Nai Peo. But what surprised Lin Yi was that Dongfang Hao didn't dodge. Instead, he wanted to take it head-on. This time, Dongfang Hao was 100% sure. A beam of red light shot out from Lin Yi's fist, directly entering Dongfang Jiao's mind. In the next moment, Dongfang Jiao didn't even have time to react before he felt an endless sea of fire surging towards him. He could even feel the waves of heat, and he subconsciously let out a scream, his eyes filled with shock. Vice Chairman Ouyang, kill him. After activating the Raging Hell Fist, Lin Yi sat on the ground with a thud. He had used up all the strength in his body, and he couldn't use any more moves. He couldn't even stand up. Vice Chairman Ouyang paused. Although he didn't understand what was going on with Dongfang Hao, he still followed Lin Yi's instructions and slashed at Dongfang Hao's head. But Vice Chairman Ouyang was a step too slow and missed the best opportunity. Dongfang Hao had already woken up from the sea of hellfire and returned to reality. He often used these demonic realms and illusions to trick people, and now that he had been tricked by Lin Yi, he was able to quickly wake up, but his heart was filled with shock. He finally knew that his big brother's death wasn't undeserved. Even he himself was almost done for. Swoosh! The sharp blue sword slashed down from the right side of Dong Fong Hao's head, directly slicing off half of his eye and the entire ear, as well as the side of his skull. You're from the everyday and everyday sect. Dong Fong Hao glared at Lin Yi with hatred. He didn't want to fight anymore and flew out of Ouyang's office, disappearing in a flash. Although Dong Fong Hao was seriously injured, one of his eyeballs was destroyed, and his head was also severely injured, it wasn't enough to kill a peak heaven-rank middle-stage expert. However, he couldn't continue fighting, and he was already afraid of Lin Yi. If Lin Yi used another demonic hell fist, as long as he was distracted for a moment, he would definitely die. And so, Dong Fong Hao ran away. Revenge, of course, but that was against the everyday and everyday sect. He didn't care about this person in front of him anymore. The monk could run, but the temple couldn't. Most importantly, the Dong Fong house and the everyday and everyday sect had a deep grudge against each other. Dong Fong Jian could be said to be nothing, but Dong Fong Bulu was the most outstanding member of the younger generation of the Dong Fong house, and now that he had died in the hands of the everyday and everyday sect, would the Dong Fong house just let it go? When Dong Fong Hao heard Lin Yi say demonic hell fist, he didn't suspect anything at all. It wasn't a secret that Dong Fong Bulu had died to Nai Peo's demonic hell fist, and Dong Fong Hao was also a practitioner of similar art. He had studied the demonic hell fist before, and it was very similar to what he had experienced just now. This was also why he was certain that Lin Yi was from the everyday and everyday sect. Chapter 3109. He wanted the Dongfang family to blame Dongfang Jian's death on the everyday and everyday sect. Mr. Ling, this Dongfang Hao is not a simple person. His methods are incredible. Even with our combined efforts, we still couldn't catch him. If he managed to escape, I'm afraid that our plan has already been exposed. Vice President Ouyang said worriedly. I'm fine. He thinks I'm from the everyday and everyday sect, but I'm worried about you. Linny said, Hey, Mr. Ling, you don't have to worry about me. He's only here once. When he gets back, he'll understand that I was merely pressured by the everyday and everyday sect and didn't tell the truth. The Dongfang family won't dare to clash with our Cultivator Trade Association. It's not like I don't have a backer, Vice President Ouyang said nonchalantly. That's good. Linny nodded. Then I'll take my leave first. I need to go back and prepare. Okay, Mr. Ling, you be careful too. Vice President Ouyang and Lin Yi had established a friendship during the battle. The two of them were now on the same side. Vice President Ouyang was afraid of Lin Yi at first, but now it was more like a concern between friends. Thank you. Lin Yi nodded gratefully. He felt that Vice President Ouyang was a good person. If there was a chance in the future, he could cooperate with him. Without saying much, Lin Yi left Vice President Ouyang's office and prepared to return to the villa. The arrival of Dongfang Chong made Lin Yi feel a sense of crisis. If the other party didn't use a heaven-grade weapon, then Lin Yi's chances of winning were very high. However, once the other party used a heaven-grade weapon, Lin Yi's advantage would be gone. Lin Yi swore to become a blacksmith as soon as possible. He believed that only by successfully refining a weapon that matched the art of dragon mastery could he regain his previous advantage. However, the fact that the Heavenly Elixir sect had cut off Lin Yi's source of income from elixirs made Lin Yi very unhappy. Kong Ming Ming was really a haunting ghost. He could jump out at any time to mess things up. Thinking of this, Lin Yi directly called Kong Ming Ming. Oh, wasn't that Lin Yi? Why did you call me? Kong Ming Ming pretended to be curious. In fact, he knew very well that once Lin Yi knew that the Cultivator Trade Association would no longer purchase his pills, he would definitely call to question him. Kong Ming Ming, are you so bored that your balls hurt? If you have time, why don't you refine a Qi gathering pill for me? It seems like you're very energetic to refine a level 1 or level 2 pill. Lin Yi asked coldly, when are you going to give me my Qi gathering pill? You're talking about the Cultivator Trade Association. I didn't refine it. It's the Heavenly Elixir sect's business changes. I'm just the spokesperson. Kong Ming Ming said, I did this to nurture a batch of alchemists. The purpose of doing this was to nurture a batch of alchemists. They couldn't possibly throw away the first and second grade dawn that they refined, right? We found the Cultivator Trade Association to cooperate with. Because the supply price is relatively low, we want to be the exclusive supplier. You can't blame me for this. This is how the market is. Just like when our Miracle Dr. Khan company went bankrupt because of your Miracle Dr. Guan company, we couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't do anything about it either. Is that so? Lin, he was speechless at Kong Mingming's words. It was clearly a sophistry, but Lin, he couldn't do anything to Kong Mingming because of this. After all, this was a normal competition. Lin, if he wanted to turn this round, he could only use a similar method. At least, Lin, he couldn't go against the Heavenly Elixir sect openly. After all, the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect had helped him once. Lin, he couldn't be ungrateful, right? Even Lin, he was puzzled. What was the relationship between him and the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect? Why would the young master suddenly help him? But no matter what, Lin, he could only find other ways to earn money. The path of selling pills wouldn't work. Lin, he returned home with the pills. Su Shirhan was practicing singing in the living room. Yushu was sitting on the sofa in a daze. She didn't have a usual joy. Shu, what are you doing? Lin, he walked into the living room and asked curiously. Oh, Shield bro, you're back. I was worried. Yao Yao sis went to the Dark Palace. I don't know how she is. She didn't call home. Yushu sighed and said unhappily. She should be fine. She didn't call. Maybe she hasn't finished the handover. Let's wait. Lin, he comforted. In fact, Lin, he was also worried. Okay. Yushu nodded. Shirhan and I are recording a song for Yao Yao sis. Shirhan sang a record for Yao Yao sis. We're going to send it to Yao Yao sis. Okay, you guys continue. I'm going back to practice. Lin Yi's strength had just recovered. He still had to think of a countermeasure. Dongfang Hao alone had already caught him off guard. If a few stronger masters from the Dongfang family appeared, Lin Yi really wouldn't know what to do. Just as Lin Yi guessed, Meng Yao had arrived at the Dark Palace today, but she had a lot of things to do. When the Grand Elder asked when Meng Yao was going to hold the ceremony, the mist didn't answer his question. Where's my mom? This. The Grand Elder didn't expect Meng Yao to ask this as soon as she arrived at the Dark Palace. He answered, Palace Master Wan is currently in the courtyard at the back of the mountain. That's where you will be staying from now on. Then why don't you bring me there? If I'm not happy, I'll just go back. Meng Yao said, This, please. The Grand Elder had no choice but to bring Meng Yao to see Yi Wan first. As for the way back, she had already arranged to receive the inheritor. The ceremony could only be postponed by the black-clothed elder. As for Meng Yao, the Grand Elder had seen her quite clearly on the way here. She had the temperament of a young miss, and she wouldn't argue with you if things didn't go her way. She'd just keep quiet, and the Grand Elder had no choice but to compromise. If Meng Yao had been brought back when she was young, this wouldn't have happened. Now that Meng Yao's temper was out, how could he expect her to work for the Dark Palace without any regrets? The obvious possibility. No. Chapter 31:10. Where's that bitch you want? The Grand Elder was getting annoyed. She grabbed a disciple on duty and barked. She wanted Meng Yao to see Yi Wan as soon as possible and go to the welcoming ceremony. But now, the more anxious she was, the more she didn't see Yi Wan. Naturally, she was annoyed. Elder Yi went to the welcoming ceremony. She's not here, the disciple said quickly. Oh, the Grand Elder nodded and was about to tell Meng Yao that her mother had gone to the ceremony, so she should go too. She'd be able to see her when she saw Meng Yao's murderous gaze. She jumped up. Miss, what's wrong with you now? The Grand Elder was getting a little scared on the way, but for the future of the Dark Palace, she had to endure it. This inheritor didn't listen to her, so she could only pacify her. Who are you calling a bitch? You old bitch. Meng Yao glared at the Grand Elder. This. What I meant was, why isn't Yi Wan coming out to see people? She's seeing people, not bitch. The Grand Elder quickly explained. Meng Yao humphed coldly. Lead the way. All right. The Grand Elder wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Thank goodness Meng Yao didn't hold it against him. Otherwise, there'd be no end to this. Yuan-Er's emotions were very complicated and perturbed. She didn't know that the new palace master was her daughter, Meng Yao. She was still worried about Meng Yao, because the Grand Elder said that she was going to kill Meng Yao before she left, and she didn't say who the inheritor was. How could she not be worried? Miss Yuan-Er, don't worry. The little miss is blessed by the heavens. She'll be fine. Maybe the Grand Elder found an inheritor, and he'll be so happy that he'll let the little miss go. Elderly said. Really? Yuan-Er sighed. Although Elderly said so, she was still very worried. She knew the highest elder's temper. He would do what he said, but just as Yuan-Er was worried, there was a burst of cheers. It was the new palace master, the heir of the Dark Palace. Everyone followed their rehearsal and clapped. The Dark Palace welcomes the new palace master. Yuan-Er stiffly raised her head. However, when she saw the face of the palace master of trust, she was completely dumbfounded. Wasn't this Meng Yao? Although Yuan-Er had never met Chu Meng Yao before, the black-clothed elder still remembered her. When she was in charge of the Dark Shadow Group, she brought back a picture of Meng Yao. She looked exactly like Meng Yao when she was young. She didn't expect Meng Yao to come to the Palace of Darkness and become the new palace master. So Yaya didn't die. She didn't get killed by the highest elder. She was the heir, the new palace master of darkness. But while Yuan-Er was happy for Meng Yao, she was also worried. It was good that Meng Yao wasn't dead, but entering the Palace of Darkness wasn't a good thing. Without freedom, although she was the palace master, she was restricted by the highest elder. She wasn't even as powerful as a normal elder, but overall, Yuan-Er was still a little happy. Meng Yao followed the highest elder up the stage, but she didn't make any speech or anything. She only looked at the highest elder and asked, "Where's my mom?" "This, Palace Master Yao Yao. Let's proceed with the inauguration ceremony first. After the ceremony is over, you will have plenty of time to reunite with your mother. Look, there are so many elders waiting down there." The highest elder quickly said, "I'm asking you, where's my mom?" Meng Yao's voice was cold. "Am I the palace master, or are they the palace masters?" The palace master asked the elders to wait a little longer. "Is there a problem?" "This. Of course there's no problem. In this palace of darkness, other than me, you're the most powerful." The highest elder quickly said that. "Yuan-Er, what are you waiting for? Get on the stage. Can't you be a little nicer?" Meng Yao humphed dissatisfied. "My little miss, my attitude is good enough." The highest elder was speechless, but she was the most powerful person in the Palace of Darkness. No matter what she said, the elders wouldn't dare say anything. If Meng Yao wanted to do it first, then so be it. Below the stage, Yuan-Er widened her eyes in shock. Her face was filled with disbelief. Meng Yao dared to go against the highest elder, and to talk to the highest elder in that tone. The most amazing thing was that the highest elder wasn't angry at all. He even called Meng Yao Little Miss. What was going on? The eyes of Elderly, who was beside Yuan-Er, also flashed with a strange light and hope. It seemed that Little Miss' personality was completely different from Miss. It seemed like she had the highest elder in the palm of her hand. The other elders all understood one thing. The previous head of the Dark Palace was just a decoration, but from today onwards, the new head would be the second most powerful person after the Grand Elder. If Meng Yao wanted to kill someone, they had no doubt that the Grand Elder would agree with her. "Let my mom look for me on the stage. Do you have any sense of seniority? I should be the one going down to look for my mom." With that, Meng Yao got off the stage and walked towards Yuan-Er. Meng Yao saw Yuan-Er as well. Her eyes were shining with tears of excitement. Meng Yao hadn't seen her mother since she was young, but the moment she saw Yuan-Er, she was sure that this was her mother, because her appearance was very, very similar to his. "Mom!" Meng Yao couldn't help but run over and jump into Yi Weiner's arms. She couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her cheeks. Meng Yao had dreamed of reuniting with her mother for so many years, but she didn't think that they'd be separated after reuniting. Yuan-Er was about to leave, and Meng Yao was going to stay. "Yao Yao, my daughter, I finally get to see you." Yuan-Er cried too, tears of joy, for reuniting with Meng Yao, for Meng Yao's strength. She knew that Meng Yao wouldn't be at a disadvantage in the Palace of Darkness in the future. She was the true palace master. She was completely different from a puppet palace master. Mom, no one will bully you anymore. You can go back and reunite with Daddy. Whoever dares to stop you, I'll kill him first, Meng Yao said. Chapter 31:11. When Qibing saw Meng Yao, he was dumbfounded. He never would have thought that Meng Yao would be able to become the palace master of the Dark Palace. He thought that Meng Yao and Lin Yi were dead, but as shocked as he wasn't too afraid. After all, in the Dark Palace, it was the Grand Elder who had the final say, not the palace master. And so, Qibing changed his mind. He wanted to get close to the Grand Elder and sow discord between them. He wanted Meng Yao's position in the Dark Palace to plummet, even higher than Yi Wan-er's position. Qibing believed that with his abilities, it wouldn't be too hard to do this. But who would have thought that things weren't as he'd imagined? Meng Yao, the palace master, seemed to be extremely powerful, and even the Grand Elder had to be afraid of her. This made Zhao Qibing very worried, and when Meng Yao said that she'd kill anyone who tried to stop Yi Wan-er, Zhao Qibing was so scared that he wet his pants. He couldn't help but be scared. He only realized now that the Dark Palace was Meng Yao's turf. A new era had come, and the days where the Grand Elder had the final say were long gone. Now, Meng Yao's appearance meant that she, Meng Yao, had the final say in the Dark Palace. Even the Grand Elder had to respect Meng Yao's opinion, lowering his voice when Meng Yao yelled at him. Qibing wanted to jump out and stop her. He wanted to make Meng Yao and Lin Yi unhappy, but now he could only stay silent, unless he wanted to die. Go back. Yi Wan-er paused after hearing Meng Yao's words. If I go back, what will you do here? How lonely will it be? It's fine, Mom. No one dares to bully me in the Dark Palace, right? Grand Elder? Meng Yao turned to the Grand Elder. Of course, whoever dares to bully the palace master, I'll be the first to take his life. The Grand Elder quickly said, if that's the case, I can accept the inheritance and cultivate with peace of mind. Mother, you should be relieved too, right? The Grand Elder had already expressed his attitude, so Meng Yao naturally couldn't just sit back and do nothing. She had to respond, hinting to the Grand Elder that she could only train in peace after Yi Wan-er left. Firstly, she had promised the Grand Elder that she would train, and secondly, it was also a hint to the Grand Elder. Only Yi Wan-er left. Only then would she obediently cultivate. Wan-er looked at the High Elder in astonishment. She hadn't expected the High Elder to say something like that. It seemed that his daughter was much stronger than him. In the future, in the Dark Palace, he couldn't afford to lose out. Then, I'll go back and take a look. When I miss you in the future, I'll bring your father to visit you again, Yao. Yi actually wanted to go back as well. Since Meng Yao was fine, she really wanted to go back. Well, you can come anytime. If it's not convenient, I can go and visit you. After all, it's a bit far, and I'm afraid it'll be inconvenient for you guys. Meng Yao said, Daddy's just a normal person. He can't handle it. That's fine. I'll send a car to pick them up. The Grand Elder said quickly. She was afraid that Meng Yao would delay her training if she went back to Donghai, so she'd rather send someone to pick up Yi Wan-er and Peng Zhan. That's still a long journey, right? The eldest young miss thought for a moment and asked, is there a cultivation method that is suitable for Daddy to cultivate and is easier to do? After all, Peng Zhan was old, and he wasn't a practitioner. But Meng Yao wanted him to live a long life, so how could he let go of this opportunity? About this, Yi Wan-er, you can go to the library later and see if there's anything suitable. The Grand Elder said. Thank you, Grand Elder. Yi Wan-er was pleasantly surprised. She didn't think that her life would be filled with hope all of a sudden, all because of her daughter. What are you thanking me for? I'm the palace master of the Dark Palace, and you're my mother, as well as the previous palace master. What's the difference between the palace of Dark Palace and our own? Meng Yao said. Right, Grand Elder. Of course. The Grand Elder said quickly. Qibing's heart was cold. It was over, it was all over. The palace of Dark Palace had become Meng Yao's world, and his future was going to be tough. What should he do? Zhao Qibing fell into deep thought. He had to find a new way out. Right? Is there a foundation pill or something? My dad's so old, and it's hard enough for him to practice. Even Qibing has taken a qi-gathering pill, and my dad hasn't. Is it okay? Meng Yao asked. Foundation pill. The Grand Elder was very troubled. He wasn't the one who told her dad to practice. She was the one who suggested it. Now you're saying that it's hard to practice without a foundation pill? Are you trying to trick me? Plus, Qibing's foundation egg wasn't provided by the Palace of Dark Palace. It was from the hidden house Zhao. But, as unhappy as the Grand Elder was, she still said, we don't have that. You know that the Palace of Dark Palace doesn't have a refiner, but we do have some ingredients, but they're not finished products. Oh, the ingredients don't matter. Lin knows how to concoct pills, so give them to me. Meng Yao didn't hold back at all. Mom, you can just take the ingredients for the pill later and let Lin make it for you. Okay, Yao Yao. Wanner saw how confident Meng Yao was, and her heart skipped a beat. She wondered what the relationship between Lin, Yi, and Meng Yao was. If he was just a bodyguard, he wouldn't listen to Meng Yao like this, would he? But Wanner didn't ask. After all, she hadn't raised her daughter since she was young, and it wasn't her place to ask about her daughter's private life. The Grand Elder finally sent Wanner away and let out a sigh of relief. Although Wanner took a lot of good stuff from the Palace of Dark Palace, the Grand Elder couldn't care less about it. Sending her away so that Meng Yao could practice in peace was the Grand Elder's biggest wish. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't say anything. She followed the Grand Elder's wishes and participated in the ceremony. After that, under the worship of the disciples, she became the new palace master of Dark Palace. Zhao Qibing. The first thing Meng Yao did as the new palace master was to punish Zhao Qibing. Palace master, your disciple, is here. Zhao Qibing was sweating profusely, regretting his choice. Of all the ancient sects he could have chosen, why did he have to choose the Palace of Dark Palace? Motherfucker, this Meng Yao wouldn't stop until she killed him. Chapter 31:12. Fortunately, Sky Elixir had a grudge with Lin Yi. Although he didn't know why the head of Sky Elixir helped Lin Yi once, it was probably because he didn't like the Dark Palace and helped Lin Yi. Zhao Qibing didn't believe that Sky Elixir could build a friendship with Lin Yi. Besides, Kong Mingming had called him a show-off, saying that he cut off Lin Yi's source of income. Under his suggestion, Sky Elixir had taken over the entire Cultivator Trade Association's medicinal market. This way, Lin Yi would be in trouble financially. Although he couldn't hurt Lin Yi physically, he could hurt him mentally. So, Zhao Qibing believed that as long as he had a good relationship with the young head of Sky Elixir, he'd be able to kill Lin Yi. The young head of Sky Elixir was a man. He couldn't be Lin Yi's woman. Could he? Fortunately, he had a trick up his sleeve. Just wait and see how I'll play you to death. From today onwards, you'll be cleaning the toilets. Meng Yao said faintly. Yes. Qibing didn't reject it. A wise man knows when to fight when the odds are against him. He knew that Meng Yao would think of other ways to get back at him if he rejected her, so he agreed without hesitation. Sky Elixir. Vice Chairman Ouyang didn't say anything, but in the Cultivator Trade Association, the Honorable Grand Elder's spy reported the news of Lin Yi's visit. Although it wasn't specific, it was easy to guess that Lin Yi was defeated. This wasn't a secret. It spread quickly in Sky Elixir, and naturally, Tian Cha knew about it. But even if she wanted to help, there was nothing she could do. She couldn't disobey the Xianxin ancestors' orders for no reason. Could she? That way, no matter how stupid the ancestor was, he'd be able to tell that she was helping Lin Yi. Sigh. There was nothing she could do. Although Tian Chan was a strong headmaster, when it came to small matters, the Xianxin ancestor couldn't help but interfere. Tian Dai, who stood beside Tian Chan, was surprised. Why would Tian Chan pay so much attention to Lin Yi? Was there something special about this Lin Yi? But Tian Dai didn't find anything special. He was just a freelancer. If she didn't help him last time, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to deal with the Dark Palace. However, in Tian Dai's eyes, Tian Chan was always right. No matter what Tian Chan did, she would blindly follow. Since Tian Chan paid attention to Lin Yi, Tian Dai decided to pay attention to Lin Yi as well. Tian Dai, help me investigate if Lin Yi is short of money. Tian-chan didn't know about Lin Yi's company. These things were too far away from her, so she was going to let Tian Dai find out more. Yes, young headmaster. Tian Dai responded and disappeared from Tian Chan's window. After Tian Dai left, Tian Chan's face blushed. She pursed her lips and was at a loss about the future. I seem to have feelings that don't belong to me. I like Lin Yi. If that's the case, what should I do in the future? She couldn't be an inheritor, but her identity was still the young headmaster of Heavenly Elixir Sect. Her brother wasn't qualified to be the young headmaster at all. Tian-chan couldn't bear to push him up by force. However, in this way, Tian-chan couldn't recover her identity as a female. Even if she could meet Lin Yi again, she could only use the identity of Tian-chan and not the Sky Silkworm transformation. She had to bury this secret forever. Patriarch Xuanqin's room. Father-in-law, good news. Lin Yi went to the Cultivator Trade Association to sell elixirs, but they didn't accept it. Kong Ming told the news to Patriarch Xianshan excitedly. There's nothing to be excited about. This matter isn't a big deal. Patriarch Xianshan waved his hand faintly and said, it can only cause some financial troubles for Lin Yi. It can't hurt him too much. That's true. By the way, Lin Yi asked me just now, how was the Qi gathering elixir? Father-in-law, when can we start refining elixirs for Lin Yi? Kong Ming asked. There's no hurry for the time being. What happened to Little 1 and Little 11 last time has already aroused Boss Bai's vigilance. If Lin Yi dies from eating elixirs this time, he definitely won't let it go. Let's wait a little longer. When the Wood Attribute Inheritor is completely cultivated, I won't be afraid anymore and can deal with Lin Yi freely, Patriarch Xianshan said. Okay, father-in-law. For this period of time, we'll continue to refine first-grade and second-grade elixirs, right? Kong Ming asked. That's right. Use all the money of our 5 Elements sect to buy materials for first-grade and second-grade elixirs, and then refine them as soon as possible. You should know that the demand of the Cultivator Trade Association is very high. We'll saturate this market so that Lin Yi can't do anything. Patriarch Xianshan said, moreover, we'll also refine more inventory. In case we don't have time to refine in the future, the Cultivator Trade Association won't run out of stock. Okay, I understand. Kong Ming nodded. However, in fact, even if the people of the Heavenly Elixir Sect and the 5 Elements Sect refined elixirs together, the cost of the elixirs was not low. After all, even if it was first-grade and second-grade elixirs, it was impossible to guarantee the success rate if they refined too many. Moreover, if they refined too many, they wouldn't have enough energy and the rate of failure would also increase. Moreover, not all the elixir masters were second-grade and third-grade elixir masters. There were many elixir master disciples. It would be good if they could successfully refine 1 out of 2 elixir masters. Fortunately, although the cost was high, the selling price was higher. Even if it was cheaper, there was still a lot of profit. Otherwise, with Patriarch Xuanqin's personality, he wouldn't do a loss-making business. There were many ways to attack Lin Yi, so there was no need to make a loss by harming others without benefiting himself. It was Patriarch Xuanqin's personality to harm others and benefit himself at the same time. Half of Dongfang Hao's eye socket was cut off. Although he took the small reversion pill and stopped the bleeding, the eye socket could not be regenerated. When he went back, he could only think of a way to make a fake eyeball and a protective shell. Every day sect, I'm not done with you. After Dongfang Hao ran away, he squatted in a deserted place and panted heavily. He took out his phone and dialed Dongfang Jinxing's number. Dongfang Hao, how is it? Have you arrived at East Ocean City? Is everything going well? Have you found out who killed Dongfang Jian? Dongfang Jinxing asked. Master, I have found out. It's the everyday sect. Dongfang Hao gritted his teeth and said, but I'm also seriously injured. Chapter 31:13. Yes, he's still here. Dongfang Hao angrily said, it's like this. I came to the Cultivator Trade Association's Market Square today to ask around. After saying that, Dongfang Hao told Dongfang Jinxing what happened. After Dongfang Jinxing heard it, he flew into a rage. It's the everyday and everyday sect again. Are you sure they did it? Young Master, don't forget that young Master Bu Sheng died to Zhang Naipeo's dark demon of Hell Fist, and I fell for it as well. That magical feeling can't be faked. At least, other than the dark demon of Hell Fist of everyday and day sect, I don't know of any other sex techniques that have such magical effects. Dongfang Hard said with certainty. What you said makes sense. The everyday and everyday sect, we will remember this grudge. You don't have to worry about Dongfang Jian's grudge for now. I don't dare to take revenge for Dongfang Bulu for now. So don't be rash. Dongfang Jinxing advised. He was afraid that Dongfang Hao would do something stupid and clash with the everyday and everyday sect. I know that, young patriarch. Don't worry, I also know that I'm not their match. The people of that sect are all freaks, and they can even fight people of a higher level. Dongfang Hard nodded his head and said, the matter of revenge has to be considered in the long run. With an enemy, it will be easy, as long as you understand. Also, don't provoke the Cultivator Trade Association if you can. You also said that the vice president might have been threatened by the everyday and everyday sect. Actually, this matter has nothing to do with him. Let's forget about it in the future. It's not appropriate for our Dongfang clan to make too many enemies now. Dongfang Jinxing reminded. I understand. I won't. Dongfang Hard hurriedly said. In truth, he didn't blame Vice President Ouyang. Although Vice President Ouyang had slashed him, it was only to save his life. Dongfang Hard placed all his hatred on the everyday and everyday sect. From his point of view, if it wasn't for the everyday and everyday sect's coercion, would the Cultivator Trade Association need to give them false testimony? The only possibility was that the everyday and everyday sect was too powerful and the Cultivators Trade Association didn't dare to offend them, so they helped them hide it. After all, even though the Dongfang clan was a top-notch ancient sect, it was still a far cry from the everyday and everyday sect. What you need to do now is to work with Dongfang Bruo and capture Su Shirhan. Then return to the Dongfang family immediately. Don't do anything else. Dongfang Jinxing ordered. Yes, Dongfang Hard was injured at the moment. He could only deal with Su Shirhan and the people around her. He didn't have the guts or ability to deal with the disciples of the everyday and everyday sect. It was the same as sending himself to his death. AI, it would be great if those two ancestors were there. It would be easier if they took action. Dongfang Jinxing hung up and suddenly sighed. But Dongfang Jinxing only thought about it. These two ancestors had disappeared for more than 10 years without any news. Although the Dongfang family had two peak heaven-rank great perfection powerhouses in name, it was only in name. This was also the reason why Dongfang Jinxing had been enduring. Nothing could be done about it. Although their great perfection powerhouses had left, a successor had appeared, but the Dongfang family had no successor. Dongfang Badeo and Dongfang Inxing hadn't rushed up yet. This made Dongfang Jinxing sullenly remember this debt. After Dongfang Hard rested for a while, he quickly rushed to the hotel where Dongfang Bruo was staying. But when Dongfang Bruo opened the door, he was shocked. What's wrong with your head? Dongfang Bruo was puzzled. Why did his father send him an injured person? The two who weren't injured were already dead. What could this injured person do? I met an enemy. It's nothing. I'll go with you to find Su Shirhan tonight. Dongfang Hard shook his head, indicating that he was fine. But, can you fight them in this state? Dongfang Bruo asked worriedly. It's okay. The great elder of the Dark Palace has already left with Meng Yao. There's no threat in the villa now. Dongfang Chong waved his hand. He had investigated this beforehand. That's why he dared to help Dongfang Bruo cause trouble for Su Shirhan. If the Grand Elder hadn't left yet, then he'd better run. Okay, then we'll go when it's dark. Dongfang Bruo nodded and didn't ask anymore. Since Dongfang Hard didn't want to say anything, he didn't care. 5 Elements Sect. Second Senior Brother Xianzhen, why are you looking for me? Patriarch Xianzhen asked Patriarch Xianzhen with a smile. Xianzhen, I heard that you told the elders and disciples of 5 Elements Sect and Sky Elixir Sect to start refining first and second level elixirs? Elder Xuanzhen frowned. Aren't you just wasting time? Do we still need to refine those things? It's like this, second brother. I'm doing this for our 5 elements sect. Although our 5 elements sect came down from the supreme level, this is a society of money. We don't have enough money. We don't even have enough materials to buy elixirs. We just want to earn more money. Elder Xianxun smiled bitterly. Second brother, you're not the head of the sect, so you don't know how expensive things are. You need a lot of elixirs to refine the suppressive elixirs. You also need a lot of supplementary ingredients. Don't you need money to buy them? Our 5 elements sect doesn't have that much savings. We can only rely on selling these elixirs to make money. Is that so? Elder Xuanzhen paused. He really didn't know about this. He wasn't the head of the sect, so he didn't know how much savings 5 elements sect had. Hearing Xuanzhen's words, it seemed to make sense. He didn't say anything more. If that's the case, then you guys can continue. All right, second brother, you don't have to worry about these things. Just focus on refining the elixirs. I'll take care of these trivial matters. Elder Xuanzhen's words were dignified, but in fact, only he and Kong Mingming knew about it. All right, I called you here because there's one more thing. Ask Kong Mingming to help me. I don't have enough manpower to refine the elixirs. I need to find a trustworthy and capable disciple to help. Elder Xuanzhen said. Chapter 31:14. That's fine, but with the heavenly elixir sex matters, she'll be busy. Ancestor Xianzhen had no choice but to nod his head. How about this? I'll go find her myself. Don't delay the operations of the heavenly elixir sect. That's fine, second senior brother. Ancestor Xianzhen didn't mind. Ancestor Xianzhen didn't waste any time. He packed his things and went to find Tianchan. The plan for Heaven Great Island was about to begin. He had to start concocting the first defensive pill. Otherwise, he wouldn't have enough time. Tianchan was slightly surprised by Ancestor Xianzhen's arrival. Master, why did you come personally? If there's anything, call me and I'll be there. I'm here to stay. I need your help with something. Patriarch Xianshan said, it's like this. I'm going to refine the first defensive pill to start the Heaven Stage Island plan. However, I need someone to help me from the side because I can't refine this pill alone. Someone needs to replace me in the middle of it. Oh, Master, please tell me if you have any instructions. But to replace you halfway, although I'm also a third-grade alchemist, if there's a small error in my control of temperature, it will be completely useless. After Tianchan heard this, her expression became serious as she spoke. You don't have to worry about this. I have a divine artifact here that's specially used to refine this pill. Ancestor Xianzhen laughed and said proudly, Oh, there's such a divine artifact? Tianchan was stunned. What's that? That's it. Ancestor Xianzhen took out a third-grade cauldron from his bag. However, this cauldron was different from other cauldrons. There was a row of thermometers and a few stopwatches on it. It looked very strange. What's this? It looks so strange. Tianchan looked at the cauldron in Ancestor Xianzhen's hand. Is it sick? Why are there so many thermometers on it? Pooh! Cough, cough. Ancestor Xianzhen looked at Tianchan's naive look and coughed. He wanted to show off a bit, but Tianchan didn't know what was good for her. Patriarch Xianzhen had no choice but to personally explain. This godly artifact was modified by a genius girl I met many years ago. Genius girl? Transform? What's the use of this? Tianchan asked in surprise. Tianchan, look here. There's a stopwatch. There's a thermometer, right? There's a scale on the thermometer, right? Xianzhen Patriarch said proudly as he pointed at the item on the cauldron. I see it, but what's the use of this? Tianchan was very puzzled. It's very useful. The scale on the thermometer is the temperature that the stopwatch needs to count down. I just need to follow the time on the stopwatch and condense the alchemy fire at this temperature. Then, I don't need to worry about anything else. I just need to watch the temperature of the thermometer and wait for the stopwatch to finish counting down. Then, the next stopwatch will start automatically. At this time, I still need to adjust the alchemy fire according to the temperature on the stopwatch and continue to maintain the temperature. Then, I wait for the stopwatch to finish counting down, and so on until the next stopwatch. Ancestor Xianzhen said, This Is it that simple? Tian-chan was a little surprised. Doesn't that mean that if we strictly follow the instructions, we can have a 100% success rate? Of course. Ancestor Xianjin nodded and said, that's why we call it a godly artifact. It's very useful. As long as we can master the temperature of the alchemy fire, we can smoothly form the alchemy fire. The success rate can reach 100%. God, it's really magical, Tian-chan exclaimed. But this seems very complicated. Can it be used to refine other pills? That's not possible. The mechanisms on top are all set up. They can only be used to refine pills used on Heavenly Island. Ancestor Xianjun shook his head regretfully and said, these mechanisms are calculated through a series of complicated functions and formulas. It's not something that can be changed by ordinary people. We can't do it. Don't look at these mechanical things. That's just the surface. There's actually a single-chip microcomputer inside. Single-chip chicken? What's that? Is it a spirit beast? No matter how Tian-chan looked at it, this medicine cauldron didn't look like it could be used to rear small animals. Ahem! It's an electronic component. It's like the central processor in a computer. We only need to follow the temperature and time on top. However, we've neglected an important thing. That is the intensity of the fire. This single-chip microcomputer can automatically change the amount of fire in the medicine cauldron through the temperature and time we input. It's similar to a stove head in order to achieve the purpose of changing the intensity of the fire. It's very complicated and can't be used on other things. Ancestor Xianjun explained. Then, the person who invented this thing is really a genius. Tian-chan couldn't imagine that alchemy could actually be so high-tech. Yes, otherwise I wouldn't have given that thing to her. Ancestor Xianjun nodded. That thing? Tian-chan was taken aback. Is it the one you gave Little Peach? Yes, that's it. Ancestor Xianjun nodded and said, it was originally prepared for you and Tian-yin, but I didn't expect it to be used. Hee, I really want to meet this genius. Tian-chan said, my surname is also Tian. How can I not be a genius? Tian-chan, I suddenly realized that you've become very cute today. Are you planning to restore your female body? Ancestor Xianjun suddenly realized that something was wrong and suddenly asked. I didn't. Tian-chan's face turned red. Although she said that she didn't, her expression betrayed her. AI, it's been hard on you. If you really can't do it, just restore it. I'll nurture Tian-yin again. Ancestor Xianjun felt sorry for his disciple. No need, master. Let's start alchemy now. Tian-chan shook her head, but said firmly, it doesn't matter. I'm fine now. And, since that's the case, I won't say anymore. In a while, when my physical strength and true chi can't keep up, you can directly connect me here. During the alchemy process, there's a small pause here. This is also the reason why two people can refine. Ancestor Xianjun pointed to a stopwatch and a temperature scale above the medicine cauldron. Okay, I understand. Tian-chan was also an alchemist. It was easy for her to understand Ancestor Xianjun's meaning. Chapter 31:15. Han Jingjing stretched her waist and rubbed her big, watery eyes. She put the small stove in her hand on the table. She was very satisfied with her invention. After a month of research day and night, she finally succeeded in making the finished product. Han Jingjing was very excited. She didn't care about her exhaustion. She took the small stove on the table and rushed downstairs. She went straight to Lin Yi's villa. When Lin Yi heard the hurried knock on the door, he thought it was Dongfang who came looking for him. He didn't expect to see Han Jingjing when he went out. He was stunned. Jingjing, didn't you go back for seclusion? Why are you here again? Big brother Lin Yi, Jingjing's invention succeeded, so I quickly came to show it to you. Han Jingjing held the small stove in her hand like a child who got 100 marks in a test. She was very happy. Big brother Lin Yi, do you think Jingjing is great? Ugh, what is this? Lin Yi pointed at the small stove in Han Jingjing's hand and asked curiously, it looks like a first-grade medicine cauldron, but why is there an LCD screen on it? Yes, it is a first-grade medicine cauldron, but it is an automatic first-grade medicine cauldron. Han Jingjing said proudly. This is Jingjing's latest invention. First-grade medicine cauldron? Automatic? Lin, Yi was stunned. He asked with widened eyes, "Can I understand that your medicine cauldron can automatically refine pills?" "Of course, it can't be done automatically. It must be operated by an alchemist," Han Jingjing explained. "However, it is much simpler. With this automatic first-grade medicine cauldron, the alchemist's body doesn't need to have the wood attribute, only the fire attribute. In fact, it is the same as Jing Jing's scientific alchemy. There is a hint on when to change the temperature of the alchemy fire. As long as the temperature of the alchemy fire is changed according to the time period, the automatic first-grade medicine cauldron can automatically adjust the fire according to the existing formula to replace the role of the wood attribute. In this way, the threshold of an alchemist is much lower. This, you can produce a product now?" Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing incredulously. He really didn't know what to say. If possible, Lin Yi really wanted to pry open Han Jingjing's little head to see what kind of structure was inside. Automatic medicine cauldron. Only she could think of it, right? That's right. Jingjing saw that big brother Lin Yi is very short of money, so she invented this medicine cauldron. If it was sold to those hidden families and ancient sects, it could be sold for a sky-high price. You have to know, this is a high-tech product that can allow their alchemists to have a 100% success rate. Han Jingjing said. Jingjing, Lin Yi took a deep breath. He really didn't know what to say. Han Jingjing hadn't been in seclusion for more than a month. So this was what she was busy with. Was it because he was short of money? Looking at Han Jingjing's thin face, Lin Yi couldn't help but hug Han Jingjing in his arms. "You've worked hard." Han Jingjing was hugged by Lin Yi. Her body was slightly stiff, but her eyes flashed a touch of happiness. She didn't struggle and just leaned into Lin Yi's arms. She was indeed tired. Han Jingjing was almost exhausted to death for more than a month. If she wasn't a cultivator, I'm afraid she really couldn't bear it. "It's okay. As long as I can help big brother Lin Yi, Jingjing will be happy," Han Jingjing said. This first-grade medicine cauldron can currently refine 10 different kinds of medicinal pills. But Jingjing suggested to make 3 kinds of medicine cauldrons. One is a medicine cauldron that contains 5 kinds of common medicinal pills. One is a medicine cauldron that contains a single medicinal pill. And the last one is a limited edition that can refine 10 kinds of medicinal pills. It contains 2 or 3 kinds that are not in the 5 kinds of medicinal pills, and not in the single medicinal pill. This way, the rarer it is, the more precious it is. It can be taken out for auction. Lin Yi suddenly realized that Han Jingjing's business mind was also very heaven-defying. It was originally a product, but she just casually changed it into 5-in-1, 10-in-1, and multiple in one automatic first-grade medicine cauldrons. This money was really easy to earn. If this kind of thing was really sold on the market, Lin Yi could foresee how popular it would be. Which sect didn't want to buy this kind of thing? In this way, not only could the success rate of alchemy be increased, but any fire attribute cultivator could also do alchemy. It wasn't necessary to have a wood attribute. In this way, which sect and family wouldn't buy it? If they bought it, they wouldn't have to face the face of the Heavenly Elixir sect and the Cultivator Trade Association. Moreover, they could refine any medicinal pill they wanted at any time, anywhere. How awesome and convenient was that? Moreover, what made Lin Yi most happy was that Kong Ming had brought out a whole bunch of first and second-grade medicinal pills to support Lin Yi's business. Now it was great. Lin Yi couldn't do anything about second-grade medicinal pills at the moment, but as for first-grade medicinal pills, Kong Ming would probably have mountains of them in his hands in the future. Either he sold them cheaply, or else who would buy them? It would be much cheaper to refine them himself, and the cost would be much lower. Lin Yi was just thinking about how to screw over Kong Ming this time, and Han Jingjing had sent him such a heaven-defying thing. It was really like hitting a pillow while dozing off. When Kong Ming found out, he would probably be fuming, wouldn't he? "Jingjing, this thing of yours has really solved a big problem," Lin Yi said with a sigh. The money of ancient sects and hidden aristocratic families wasn't easy to earn. One of Lin Yi's pill of life extension and toxin cleansing could be auctioned for a few $100 million in the common world, but would it be the same in the hidden world or ancient world? Of course not. It was just like how fruits had a different price in their country of origin and a different price when transported by air to a foreign country. But Han Jingjing's thing was a killing machine for money. Yes, but I don't know how much I'll sell it for, or how I'll sell it for. Han Jingjing said, but Big Bro Lin Yi, you can give a distribution rights to the secular Liu family and let them produce and sell it. The secular Liu family? Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. Originally, Lin Yi had planned to cooperate with the Cultivator Trade Association's Vice President Ouyang. After all, Vice President Ouyang was a trustworthy friend, and Lin Yi naturally couldn't forget him when he had something good to do. But he didn't expect that Han Jingjing would actually suggest giving the distribution rights to the Liu family. Chapter 31:16. Yes, thank you, Linny bro. Han Jingjing said happily. Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is something you invented yourself. Even if you didn't give it to me, I wouldn't be able to say anything if you cooperated with House Liu. Why are you thanking me? No, Jing Jing stuff belongs to Lin Yi. Bro Jing Jing doesn't have any ideas. Han Jingjing said in Lin Yi's arms. What the hell? Shield bro, you're too fast. Although Yao Yao and I both acknowledge Jing Jing, you can't just start hugging Yao Yao right after she left. You have to bring Shu with you in the villa. Yushu's voice came from behind Lin Yi. Han Jingjing was a little shy. She struggled out of Lin Yi's arms and looked at Yushu. Jing Jing's a little tired. Linny bro, help me up. I know. What's this? Yushu pointed at the automatic cauldron in Lin Yi's hands. This is Jing Jing's invention, Lin Yi said, and explained the function of the cauldron to Yushu. No way. Jing Jing, you're amazing. Shield bro is rich this time. Yushu's eyes were wide open as she looked at the automatic cauldron in Lin Yi's hands. Huh. Lin Yi smiled. Han Jingjing was a little embarrassed from the compliment. Right, Shield bro, there's a computer program in this thing, right? Yushu asked suddenly. Yeah, of course there is, Linny nodded. Then you guys have to be careful. If there's a computer program in there, it'll have to be encrypted. Those ancient sects and hidden houses might not know about it. But if someone they know knows about it, we won't be able to sell our products if it's pirated. Yushu reminded. You're right. There are a lot of pirated things out there. It'd be a big loss if someone pirated it. Lin Yi listened to Yushu's reminder. He nodded. Shu, you're really thoughtful. Jing Jing, and I didn't think of this. Yes, Linny bro, Shu's right. We have to encrypt it. Han Jingjing also nodded and said, but Jing Jing isn't good at hacker knowledge like encryption and decryption of computer programs. I don't feel at ease asking for help. This is a difficult problem, hacker. Lin Yi smiled all of a sudden. I have a good friend. She's really good with computers. She's good at hacking, especially. Looks like it won't be a problem to hand it over to her. Moreover, I have two madams who are also computer experts. When the time comes, I will encrypt the program. I have it. I'm afraid that the ancient sects and the hidden houses won't be able to get it. That's good. Yushu was a little surprised. She didn't expect Lin Yi to know someone like that. Then, big brother Linny, here's a flash drive. The design plan of the first-grade automatic medicine cauldron and the source code of the microcontroller are all here. You can start researching and producing it. Jingjing has to go back and continue researching. Han Jingjing said, continue the research? What else do you want to study? Isn't that enough? Lin, he was slightly stunned. This is only grade 1. There's still grade 2 and grade 3. But grade 1 is a bit easier. After many experiments, I found out that the materials for grade 1 cauldrons can be replaced by titanium alloy. However, grade 2 cauldrons are not so easy. If we were to produce them, we wouldn't be able to mass market them without a substitute. So, Jing Jing still has to continue working hard. Then I'll have to trouble you. Lin, he didn't stop her. Instead, he encouraged her. Jing Jing, it's up to you to earn money in the future. Okay. Jing Jing will be Lin Yi Gij's money tree from now on. Han Jingjing smiled and waved at Lin Yi before running back to her villa happily. Linny bro, do you think that Han Jingjing approaching you, helping you with the pill, and helping you with the invention of this thing, has a purpose? Yushu asked after Han Jingjing left. Lenny paused. Yushu rarely spoke to him in such a formal tone, but had to be something important. I can't tell, but it's hard to imagine what purpose she has. Yeah, a girl who's willing to sacrifice her life for you. What purpose could she have? Yushu shook her head, confused. Shu doesn't know what to say. Han Jingjing helped you so much, even creating such a magical thing for you to earn money. Could it be that she really admires Shield Bro, just like Shu? Lenny didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Shu's words. If she's like you, then that means she's very scheming. Damn, Shield Bro's mocking Shu for being scheming. Yushu wasn't happy. It's not mocking. At least you wouldn't do anything to me, right? Lin Yi smiled. I don't think Han Jingjing would either, so I won't ask if she doesn't want to talk about it. She's done enough for me, and Yao Yao sis. Yushu reminded. Yeah, I'll go to the Palace of Darkness to visit Yao Yao when things are done here. Lin Yi nodded solemnly. Yushu only went back to watch TV after hearing that. Lin Yi called Little Gio after going back to his room. There were some things that Lin Yi wouldn't run away from since he'd chosen to face them. After accepting the miss and Han Jingjing one after another, Lin Yi's attitude changed a little. Since the people around him had changed because of him, and this change was irreversible, why should he try to resist? He might as well let nature take its course. Eagle? The ninth princess paused when she received Lin Yi's call. Just call me Lin Yi from now on, or call me Brother A.E. like Little Seven does. Lin Yi said, I don't need Eagle anymore. Ah. The ninth princess was surprised. You're not going to do business with me anymore? No matter what, I can't change the fact that we grew up together. Why should I change it? Lin Yi smiled. Little Gio, what's your decision? It's about your biological parents and brother. Chapter 31:17. What do you mean accept you? Lin Yi was taken aback. Let me be your girlfriend. Lil Gio said, didn't you say that if you can't change, then don't change? What I mean is we're childhood sweethearts. What does that have to do with you being my girlfriend? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Lil Gio really knew how to push her luck. Isn't childhood sweetheart a girlfriend? Lil Gio asked back. Chi-Chi and I are childhood sweethearts, so she's my girlfriend too? Wouldn't both of you be my girlfriends then? Lin Yi asked back. That's right. Who says we aren't? Lil Gio said matter-of-factly. Godfather has so many wives. Lin Yi was speechless. Let's not talk about this for now. Inheritors can't do that. So the girlfriend thing, we'll put it off for now. I know, we won't go to bed for now. Hugs are still fine, Lil Gio said. Lil Gio, when did you become so impure? Lin Yi sweated. Do you expect a girl who spends all her time on the internet to be pure? I can't even tell if she's a man or a woman anymore. Lil Gio said. Lin Yi was speechless. Then let's talk when we meet? It's such a serious matter, we can't talk about it over the phone. Sure. Lil Gio didn't say much to Lin Yi this time, knowing when to stop. If she didn't know about Lin Yi's change from Chi-Chi, she wouldn't have been able to push him so hard today. If it were the old Lin Yi, he probably wouldn't have said anything at all. Right, Lil Gio, I'm calling you this time because I need your help with something. Lin Yi said, are you good at encrypting MCU programs? MCU, most of the MCU programs on the market can be decrypted. Why do you ask? Lil Gio was confused as to why Lin Yi would ask about this. It's like this. Lin Yi told Little Nine about how Han Jingjing had invented an automatic medicine cauldron that could be used to refine pills. Oh, that's easy. Send me the source code, and then I'll help you encrypt it and put it into a kind of single-chip microcomputer that Godmother and I developed in the past. There's no information on this kind of single-chip microcomputer. The encryption is very powerful, and it's very difficult to decrypt it, Little Gio said directly after listening. Okay, then I'll send it to your email later. Lin Yi was relieved that he had settled one thing. Yes, aren't you going to generate a lot of programs? What do you want for each one? Tell me, and I'll help you rearrange the encryption. Little Nine said. No problem. Lin Yi nodded. How's Chi-Chi recently? It's still the same. After Sister 7 knows that I don't have to run around for my illness, she'll focus on helping you find the blue crystal and the other things. Once there's news, I'll inform you, Little Nine said. Okay, I won't be busy for a while. I'll go back and take a look, Lin said. After ending the call with little Gio, Lin hesitated for a moment. He dialed Lu Jing'an's phone directly. This time, Lin didn't look for Lu Tianyi directly, but Lu Jinghan directly. Lin didn't know why. Maybe he wanted to prove something? Mr. Lin, Lu Jinghan quickly picked up the phone. Her voice sounded a little happy, but also a little worried. Miss Lu Jinghan, I heard that the bank has begun to collect debts. Lin, he asked directly. Yes, the Lu family owed a lot of debts before. Lu Jinghan didn't hide it. Instead, she told the truth, but Jinghan is already working hard to find new money-making projects. You don't have to keep the change. I'll give you one, Lin said, and told Lu Jinghan about the automatic first-grade medicine cauldron that Han Jingjing had invented. There's such a magical thing. Jinghan really admires the person who invented it. Lu Jinghan said with some guilt, Jinghan just got a bargain like this. It's not good, right? There's nothing bad about it. This is the person who invented it. She said that she wanted to give it to your Lu family. She is very important to me, and her words are also very important to me. So, it's a bargain for your Lu family, said Lin. And then, Lu Jinghan was suddenly a little excited. What did you say? Lin, he was slightly stunned. I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. Jinghan is a little lost. It's really this thing is too magical. It makes Jinghan very excited. I think that after this thing is on the market, those hidden families and ancient sects will come to please the Lu family. Lu Jinghan said sincerely. Well, the marketing plan of this matter will be handed over to you. Lin nodded and didn't say anything more to Lu Jinghan. I hope you won't disappoint my friend's efforts. You must make this medicine cauldron well. Mr. Lin, please rest assured. Jinghan will do her best. Lu Jinghan promised. That's good. I won't say anything more. Lin said, however, you'd better come to East Ocean City to pick up the sample. After all, I'm not too assured if I send it to you. Also, you haven't come into contact with the principal of the medicine cauldron, so I want to tell you personally. In fact, these words of Lin Yi were just excuses. In Lin Yi's heart, there was suddenly a very persistent thought, and that was to see Lu Jinghan. Lu Jinghan? Jingjing, Han Jingjing. Could there be any relationship between them? However, Lin Yi felt that it was not very likely. However, Lu Jing'an's N seemed to have touched something deep in Lin Yi's heart. It made Lin Yi insist on seeing her. Okay, then I'll rush over today. We can meet tomorrow. Lu Jinghan agreed readily without the slightest hesitation. This made Lin Yi a little disappointed. It seemed that some of his ideas should be wrong. See you tomorrow. Lin Yi nodded and hung up the phone without any interest. Then, Lin Yi began to continue to study condensing the forging fire. Now that Lin Yi's technique of condensing the forging fire was getting more and more skilled, Lin Yi didn't dare to condense the jade pendant space easily because the materials he had were extremely limited. If the refining failed, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find a place to cry. This thing also had a success rate like alchemy. Although failure wouldn't cause any damage to the jade pendant, the materials would be lost. Therefore, Lin Yi must have more than 80% confidence before he dared to make a move. At night, Lin Yi was condensing the jade pendant space when he suddenly felt a car parked outside the villa. The two people in the car were both cultivators. Chapter 31:18. Lin Yi stood up and walked out of the room. Since they were already here, Lin Yi didn't want to let them in. After all, Dongfang Bruo was a practitioner, and Lin Yi didn't want him to hurt Su Shihan and Yushu. One had to know that this guy was a pervert. Even if he didn't do anything to Su Shihan and Yushu, it would still make Lin Yi uncomfortable. Young Master Bruo, we'll leave after we get Su Shihan. Don't cause any more trouble, Dongfang Hard said to Dongfang Bruo after getting out of the car. Understand, Dongfang Bruo didn't like Dongfang Hard's tone, but he knew that so many people had died. It was best to end this quickly, but he didn't want to give up. The Grand Elder of the Dark Palace took away a female student, and there was still one left. If he could get the other one with Su Shihan, that would be great. But he couldn't say it out loud. In. Dongfang Hard was about to enter when he saw Lin Yi standing in front of the villa. He jumped. It's you? Young Master Bro, run, I'll cover you. Dongfang Chong exclaimed subconsciously. He'd experienced Lin Yi's strength back at the Cultivator Trade Association, and he'd had a run for his life. Now that he was heavily injured, he couldn't use his full strength at all. He couldn't even protect Dongfang Bruo, let alone defeat Lin Yi. He had to get Dongfang Bruo to leave. Dongfang Bruo paused, but he wasn't an idiot. If Dongfang Bruo told him to run, then there must be danger. Dongfang Bruo didn't care about Dongfang Hard's life and jumped into the car. Lin Yi frowned. Lin Yi wanted to keep both Dongfang Bruo and Dongfang Hard here, but he didn't expect Dongfang Bruo to be so cautious. But keeping one was enough. Fire Bagua Palm, 9th style. While Dongfang Hao was distracted, Lin Yi struck out with the 9th style of the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm. Dongfang Hao was worried that Dongfang Not Weak would not be able to defend himself in time. Lin Yi's palm was right in front of him, and he jumped in fright. He wanted to dodge, but Dongfang Bruo's car hadn't started yet. He could only close his eyes helplessly and take the hit head-on, giving Dongfang Bruo time to escape. It had to be said that the Dongfang people were very loyal. If he dodged, Lin Yi might have just smacked the car with the palm right before it started. Then Dongfang Bruo would definitely die. Boom! Dongfang Chong had already revolved his heart sutra and used his true chi to protect his body. But he did not expect that Lin Yi's move would be so powerful that he was directly sent flying. Dongfang Bruo's body shot out like a cannonball, smashing heavily into the car that Dongfang Bruo had just started. The force was incomparably strong. If it hit Dongfang Bruo's car, it would definitely flip over, and this was not what Dongfang Chong wanted to see. Dongfang Chong had no other choice. He could only withdraw his true chi protection and use his own true chi to resist Lin Yi's attack. Originally, Dongfang Chong's injury was not fatal, but this attack reduced the force of his flying. However, at the same time, Dongfang Chong also suffered a serious internal injury. He spat out a mouthful of blood. By the time he landed on the back of Dongfang Bruo's car, he was already out of breath. Especially since he did not use his true chi protection, the injury on his head was very serious. It was obvious that he would not be able to live. Boom! Boom! At the same time, Dongfang Bruo also started his car and quickly disappeared in front of Lin Yi's villa. Looking at Dongfang Bruo's car leaving, Lin Yi hesitated for a moment and did not chase after him. The 9th move of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm had already used up most of Lin Yi's true chi. Only a small portion was left, so there was no need to talk about whether or not Lin Yi could catch up to Dongfang Bruo. Even if he did, he would have used up most of his true chi. He did not have absolute confidence that he could kill Dongfang Bruo. Moreover, there was the possibility of exposing his weakness. It was better to let Dongfang Bruo see his strong side and have some fear. Otherwise, the next time he brought 2 heaven-class experts to cause trouble, Lin Yi really would not know how to deal with them. Seeing Dongfang Bruo spitting out blood in the rearview mirror, Dongfang Bruo thought that he was lucky. That was the power of a heaven-class mid-stage peak martial skill. Because he wanted to escape, he did not look at Lin Yi's own strength. Instead, he looked at Lin Yi's martial skill. Therefore, he subconsciously thought that Lin Yi was also a heaven-class mid-stage peak master. If that was the case, then killing Dongfang Bruo, who was also injured, would not be a problem. But what did Dongfang Bruo mean by that? This person in front of him was from the everyday and everyday sect? Since when did the ancient Feng family or Feng Tianlin have a connection with the everyday and everyday day and everyday sect, to the point that they were able to ask someone from the everyday and everyday day and everyday sect to protect Su Shihan? Or did Su Shihan, that bitch, hook up with a disciple from the everyday and everyday day and everyday sect to be her bodyguard? The first possibility was not high, and from Dongfang Bruo's point of view, it was impossible. If Feng Tianlin was really that capable, then he would have been in control of House Feng a long time ago. Why would he need to be afraid of Feng Tianhu? So, from his point of view, the second possibility was the most likely. Dongfang Bruo couldn't help but curse in his heart. Su Shihan, that bitch, he thought she was pure and innocent. Who would have thought that she was playing with second-hand goods? But the more it was like this, the harder it was for him to calm down. He had to get his hands on Su Shirhan, otherwise he wouldn't be able to take this lying down. But right now, the most important thing was to escape. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't let Dongfang Buruo live. The people in the villa heard the commotion outside, and Feng Sanhuang and Wu Qintian quickly came out. Feng Bro, Qintian, you guys take care of this person. Dongfang Buruo didn't need Lin Yi to do anything. He was about to die anyway. So Feng Sanhuang and Qintian found a place to take care of him. Yes, thank you for your help, Mr. Lin. Feng Sanhuang said gratefully. This was a Sky-class mid-phase peak master, and Dongfang Buruo wasn't dead yet. Feng Sanhuang could see his strength clearly, and he was shocked. Lin Yi was indeed strong, killing a Sky-class mid-phase peak master in one move. But Dongfang Buruo ran away. We couldn't keep him here. Lin Yi sighed. Chapter 31:19. Oh, Lin Yi turned to look at Feng Sanhuang. The great elder of Dark Palace is powerful, right? But even she wouldn't dare kill Dongfang Buruo. Her goal is to leave a way out for Dongfang family. Feng Sanhuang saw that Lin Yi didn't understand, so he continued, "That's why I said it's a good thing." Lin Yi nodded but didn't deny it. Although Feng Sanhuang was right, Lin Yi and the ancient Feng family were already at each other's throats. There was no room for reconciliation. Even if Lin Yi let Dongfang Buruo go, would Dongfang family let Lin Yi go? How could he just let this matter go like this? That was obviously impossible. Lin Yi's guess was right. The first thing Dongfang Buruo did when he got back to the hotel was call Dongfang Jinxing for help. "Buruo, you're done, right? Don't stay any longer. Come back to Dongfang family." Dongfang Jinxing picked up the phone and said to Dongfang not weak. He couldn't be blamed for not thinking too much. After all, Dark Palace's Elder Dark Knight had already left. With Dongfang Hard, who was a peak mid-stage heaven-class master, taking care of Su Shirhan would be a piece of cake. "Dad, something happened. Dongfang Hard died too," Dongfang Buruo said with a sad face. "That person was too strong. One move, just one move, and Dongfang Hard died. Luckily I ran fast, or else I'd be dead too." "What?" Dongfang Jinxing was shocked. "How did Dongfang Hard die too? What was going on? Didn't the great elder of Dark Palace leave? How did Dongfang Hard die?" Dongfang Jinxing quickly asked, "Buruo, what happened to you guys? Could it be that the supreme elder of the Dark Palace has returned?" "No, not from Dark Palace, but from the everyday and everyday sect. Su Shirhan, that bitch, seduced a young master from the everyday and everyday sect. He was also Sky-class mid-stage peak, and killed Dongfang Buruo in one move. And from the looks of it, Dongfang Hard seems to know that disciple from the everyday and everyday sect. Dongfang Hard did not dare to hide anything. Dongfang Buruo told Dongfang Jinxing everything that had happened in detail. However, Dongfang Buruo did not know that Dongfang Jinxing had suffered at the Cultivator Trade Association, so he only guessed that Dongfang Jinxing knew Lin Yi. Oh, the everyday and everyday sex people are involved? After Dongfang Jinxing heard this, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. Dongfang Bushu's death hasn't been settled with you guys yet. Not only did you guys kill Dongfang Jian, but you also colluded with Su Shirhan and killed Dongfang Jiang? This was intolerable. Even if they couldn't kill their way to the everyday and everyday sect, they had to kill this disciple of Su Shirhan. Otherwise, where would the Dongfang family's face go? After all, the Dongfang clan had lost so many people to this disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. How could the Dongfang clan tolerate this? Wouldn't anyone be able to shit on the Dongfang family in the future? Dongfang Jinxing needed to take some measures. But was the other side a peak mid-heaven rank expert? Didn't Dongfang House say that the opponent was a heaven rank initial phase expert? Could it be that he leveled up already? But Dongfang Jinxing wasn't stupid. He immediately thought of a problem. Dongfang Buruo was in a hurry, so he didn't see the opponent's strength clearly. Judging from the way the opponent killed Dongfang Hao, the opponent should be a peak mid-heaven rank expert. This explained why the everyday and everyday sect disciples were all experts who had the ability to fight against enemies of a higher level. It wasn't strange for an initial phase heaven rank to kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert in a second. Even a peak late phase heaven rank expert like Dongfang Bushu was killed by an initial phase heaven rank expert. Yes, Dad, I can't take this line down. What should I do? Dongfang Burua said. It's not just you, even I can't take this line down. But if we want to find trouble with this person, normal experts won't be able to do anything. He can kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert in a second, which means that his combat ability has already reached late phase heaven rank. Unless we send a peak late phase heaven rank expert out, we won't be able to stop him. Dongfang Jinxing thought it through very clearly. It was just that he overestimated Lin Yi's strength. Dongfang Buruo was startled and thought that he was lucky. He quickly asked, "So, Father, you're not his opponent?" "I can't say that I'm not his opponent, but at least I don't have the confidence to make him stay. So if we want to deal with them, unless your grandfather or uncle personally comes out, no one in our Dongfang family is his opponent." Dongfang Jinxing sighed. There was no news of the two ancestors. These two super experts of the Dongfang family only existed in name. Then, can grandfather and uncle come out? Dongfang Burua asked. I need to ask about this. He's not weak. During this period of time, find a place to hide and keep a low profile. At least before your grandfather or uncle comes out, don't act rashly. Dongfang Jinxing warned. Yes, I understand the importance, Dad. Dongfang Buruo was not a fool. Dongfang Hao was dead, and he was left alone. Would he dare to act rashly? Wasn't that the same as courting death? Hearing Dongfang Buruo's affirmative answer, Dongfang Jinxing breathed a sigh of relief. He hung up the phone and walked quickly to the room where Dongfang Badeo and Dongfang Inxing were cultivating. Dang, dang, dang. Another knock at the door in the middle of the night. Dongfang Badeo also heard the footsteps of Dongfang Jinxing. So he said, Jinxing, what's the matter? Come in and talk. Father, brother, something big has happened. Dongfang Jinxing felt depressed. Every time he came to the door, something big happened. What's the big thing? Dongfang Badeo was shocked and asked. Dongfang Hao is also dead. Dongfang Jinxing said. Today, Dongfang Hao went to the Cultivator Trading Association and met the disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect and was injured. In the evening, he met the disciple again and was killed. He told Dongfang Badeo and Dongfang Inxing in detail. What? The Everyday and Everyday sect again? Dongfang Badeo's eyes flashed with a fierce and insidious look. They are too much. Chapter 31:20. Wonderful novels for you to read. Don't be rash. Dongfang Badeo waved his hand. The old man was still very calm. He pondered for a moment and said, I heard that the Day After Day sect has cultivated an important disciple of the Heaven Stage Island Plan. We must find out the identity of this disciple of the Day After Day sect. Otherwise, if he is really that important disciple, then things will not be as simple as we think. If we touch him, what is waiting for us? I believe you two are very clear. Didn't Dongfang Jian die because he touched the inheritor of the Dark Knight Palace? If we touch an important disciple nurtured by the Everyday and Everyday sect, then we will become the public enemy of the entire ancient world. This, Dongfang Badeo's words immediately made Dongfang Jinxing and Dongfang Inxing break out in a cold sweat. Yeah, wasn't Mingyao's lesson enough? The deaths of Dongfang Cha and Dongfang Song had caused the Dongfang family to suffer in silence. If they really touched the important disciples of the Heavenly Island Project that the Everyday and Everyday sect had cultivated, no one would stand up for them, even if they were to be exterminated. Father, if it really is that important disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect, are we just going to endure it? Dongfang Inxing asked, a little depressed. Naturally, we can't just let it go like this. When we reach the peak of the late stage of the Heaven Stage, then we will go to the Everyday After Sun sect to ask for an explanation. We can leave the important disciple alone, but the everyday after sun sect must pay the price. Dongfang Badeo said, "That's fine. What if it's not?" Dongfang Yinxing asked. "If not, then it's simple. When you get there, just kill him." Dongfang Badeo said faintly, "We don't dare to find trouble with the everyday and everyday sect now, but an ordinary disciple outside, we can kill him." "All right." Dongfang Yinxing nodded and turned to Dongfang Jinxing. "Big brother, quickly investigate the identity of the kid with Su Shihan. If there's nothing, I'll go kill him." "I know. I will go and investigate." Dongfang Jinxing nodded. Out of Dongfang Badeo's room, Dongfang Jinxing dialed Feng Tianhu's phone to investigate who was around Su Shihan. No one was easier than Feng Tianhu. After all, he knew more about Su Shihan than the Dongfang family. This time, Dongfang Huashuan didn't contact Dongfang Xiaocui, but Feng Tianhu. He was afraid that Dongfang Xiaocui would leak the news to Feng Tianlin. "Hello." Feng Tianhu picked up the strange number, wondering who was calling. "Mr. Feng Tianhu? I am Dongfang Jinxing from the Dongfang clan." Dongfang Jinxing introduced himself. "Ah, greetings, young Master Dongfang." Feng Tianhu was a little excited. He didn't think that the Dongfang family, which he wasn't familiar with, would call him. One had to know that the Dongfang family was Dongfang Xiaocui's family. Even if they didn't like Su Shihan and wanted to deal with her, they wouldn't do anything to harm Feng Tianlin. But this time, Feng Tianhu was a little puzzled. Why was Dongfang Jinxing looking for him? "Feng Tianhu, there's a bodyguard around Su Shihan, and I hope that you can investigate the identity of this bodyguard as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to deal with Su Shihan." Dongfang Jinxing said. "Oh, Su Shihan's bodyguard? Isn't it Feng Sanwang? He's just a mystic-class master. How could it be difficult to deal with?" Feng Tianhu was slightly stunned, and then said, "You mean the matter of the Dark Palace before? But didn't the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace already leave?" She laughed, but Dongfang Jinxing changed the topic and said painfully, "I believe that you will know soon, so I won't hide it anymore. Our Dongfang family, the master with the strength of the peak middle stage of the heaven class, is also dead. The matter is like this." Dongfang Jinxing told the story to Feng Tianhu. Although it was a little shameful, he wanted Feng Tianhu to take it seriously and work hard to investigate. Dongfang Jinxing could only tell the truth. "What? You mean Su Shihan colluded with the master disciples of the everyday and everyday sect? How is that possible?" Feng Tianhu was shocked. He knew how powerful the everyday and everyday sect was. They were so powerful that even the Ice Palace and Snow Valley didn't dare to mess with them, let alone an ancient Feng family. Nothing is impossible. The truth is right in front of us. Dongfang Jinxing said, "Feng Tianhu, you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to do anything. You just need to investigate this person's background. Leave the rest to me." "Okay, I understand." Feng Tianhu gritted his teeth and nodded. Although investigating the everyday and everyday sect made him very scared, it was just a covert investigation and not a direct action. So it was fine, young Master Dongfang, then wait for my news. "Okay, then I'll wait for your call." Dongfang Jinxing hung up the phone and couldn't help but shake his head. He could tell that Feng Tianhu was scared. He felt disdain in his heart. With this kind of courage, he wanted to compete for the Feng family's master. On the second day after Dongfang Bruo left, Lin Yi's villa returned to its usual peace. No one came to the door again. It seemed like Dongfang Bruo gave up just like that. But with Lin Yi's understanding of the Dongfang family, it seemed like they wouldn't give up so easily. After all, they sent so many masters to investigate Dongfang Jian's death. But what surprised Lin Yi was that the ancient Dongfang family had a lot of Heaven Stage masters. In just a few months, 5 Heaven Stage masters, Dongfang Bruo, Dongfang Jian, Dongfang Cha, Dongfang Song, and Dongfang Chong, died one after another. If they could still send Heaven Stage masters, then their family was really rich. The next morning, a white BMW X5M stopped in front of Lin Yi's villa. Lin Yi, who had been on guard against Dongfang Bruo's visit, naturally noticed the car. Originally, Lenny thought it was Han Jingjing's car. After all, it was exactly the same as Han Jingjing's car. But when he looked at the license plate, He was slightly surprised. The license plate was from Yinjing City, and it was an unfamiliar number. Chapter 31:21. If Lin Yi's guess was right, this person should be the girl Lin Yi met at the Noble House meeting, Lu Jinghan. But Lu Jinghan was wearing a veil at that time, and Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to her, so he didn't have a deep impression of her. But now, this was the first time Lin Yi saw this genius girl from House Lu. I wonder if there's anything special about him. At least, Lin Yi couldn't tell that House Lu was still in debt. The only thing he could tell was that genius girls all liked white BMW X5M. But no matter what, Lin Yi stood up and walked out of the room. "Miss Lu Jinghan, it's me, Mr. Lin Yi." "Hello." Lu Jinghan locked the car and combed the messy hair on her forehead. She smiled at Lin Yi, but there was no flattery or respect. There was only respect and gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Lin Yi, for trusting us with the business. Okay, come in and talk." Lin Yi nodded and gestured for Lu Jinghan to enter the living room. Lin Yi said as they walked, "Since we are partners, you can call me boss like Fatty Lai or Lin Yi. It's a bit awkward to always call me Mr. Lin Yi." "Boss." Lu Jinghan paused and said, "Then I'll call you Lin." Lu Jinghan felt awkward for a girl to call someone boss. "Okay," Lin Yi nodded. "Then don't call me Miss Lu Jinghan. 5 words are longer than your 4. Just call me Jing Jing. Everyone in my family calls me that," Lu Jinghan said. "Jing Jing." Lin Yi frowned. To be honest, he didn't like the name Lu Jinghan. In his heart, there was only one Jing Jing. She was a very important girl to Lin Yi, so Lin Yi wouldn't call anyone else by that name. "I'll call you Jinghan." Lu Jinghan was also slightly taken aback, but she smiled and said, "Of course." They entered the living room and sat on the sofa. Lin Yi put the first-grade automatic cauldron Han Jingjing gave him on the coffee table. "This is the first-grade automatic cauldron that my friend invented. Now, I'll tell you about its functions." As he spoke, Lin Yi told Lu Jinghan about the functions of the first-grade automatic cauldron, and then gave her the encrypted program little Gio had sent him, as well as the plan to mass-produce the chip. "I understand. With these things, whether it's House Lu or Fatty Lai, they'll be able to turn things around beautifully," Jinghan said confidently. "Don't worry, Lin. As long as the cauldron is mass-produced, not only will we be able to make up for our losses, but we'll also be able to make a huge profit. And I'll leave it to you. Do as you see fit." Lin Yi nodded and didn't say much. "If there's nothing else, you can go back to Yinjing." "Okay, then I'll go back first. I'll keep in touch if there's any news," Lu Jinghan said. After sending Lu Jinghan away, Lin Yi was slightly disappointed. Lu Jinghan and the person he wanted to see were completely different. Although they were both beautiful, they had 2 different styles. Her tone was completely different as well. It made Lin Yi lose interest in interacting with Lu Jinghan. Not long after Lu Jinghan left, another guest came to the villa. It was Su Shihan's colleague, Cheng Yi. Lin Yi didn't think that Cheng Yi would come to visit Su Shihan. He was surprised. "Lin Yi, long time no see. Did you miss me?" Cheng Yi smiled as she walked into the living room and asked Lin Yi. Lin Yi shrugged. This question wasn't easy to answer. If he said he missed her, it would be too ambiguous. If he said he didn't miss her, it would be too hurtful. Lin Yi could only avoid the question. "Yi, are you here for work or just for fun?" "It's work. In Xiaoan's new album, there's a song that we sang together. Xiaoan has been living here for a while now and didn't go back to the company. I had to come here personally to practice with her." Cheng Yi shrugged and looked at Lin Yi with interest. "By the way, Lin Yi, how did you get her Xiaoan? You actually made her come live with you." Live together?" Su Shihan was getting a drink for Cheng Yi. When she came back, she heard Cheng Yi's question. She was shocked and almost threw the drink in her hand. "Yi, don't talk nonsense. I'm just here to visit Yao Yao. She has something to do and has to leave. I'm here to send her off. But she already left. Then why aren't you going back?" Cheng Yi looked at Su Shihan mischievously. "Xiaoan, it's not good for a child to lie, especially a superstar. Su Shirhan blushed. It would be a lie to say that she didn't like Lin Yi. But a good impression was a good impression. It didn't mean that she liked him. Lin Yi cured Su Shirhan's headache and protected her multiple times. It was hard for Su Shirhan not to like him. But Su Shirhan also knew that Lin Yi had too many girlfriends. She reminded herself not to get involved. Don't talk nonsense. Lin Yi has a girlfriend. You know that. Okay, let's go upstairs and practice. Su Shirhan passed a drink to Chung Yi. Okay. I just got here. I can't rest. I still need to practice with you. Chung Yi rolled her eyes helplessly. She took a sip of the drink and turned to Lin Yi. I have high hopes for you. Shaoan doesn't get so close to guys. Thank you. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't have any special feelings for Su Shirhan. In his eyes, Su Shirhan was just a beauty that he met not long ago. He was only slightly more familiar with her than Lu Jinghan. As for going after Su Shirhan, Lin Yi didn't even think about it. After all, Lin Yi wasn't a fan. He didn't have any preference for this girl who was always jumping around. The following days were uneventful. Su Shirhan and Chung Yi practiced singing. Yushu went to school during the day. Lin Yi continued to condense the forging fire in his room. But amidst the uneventful days, there were two pieces of news that made Lin Yi excited. The first was that the production line for the first grade automatic cauldron was ready. Everything was ready. All that was left was to start. Chapter 31:22. Soon, the sample of the first grade automatic medicine cauldron was in Lin Yi's hands, and it could be put on sale immediately. At the same time, Lu Jinghan called Lin Yi to inform him of the good news. Lin Yi, do you think, if we put the product on the market now, will it attract covetous eyes from others? Although Lu Jinghan was full of confidence in the product, she was afraid that the hidden or ancient masters would not be able to bear the loneliness and want to snatch it away. High-quality updates are here. I've thought of this before, so if you want to sell it, you can cooperate with the Cultivator Trading Association. The normal version and the 5-in-1 enhanced version will be sold by our company, and the Cultivator Trading Association will be in charge of the auction of the limited edition 10-in-1 automatic medicine cauldron. Lin Yi said, and to the outside world, it will be a joint business between you and the Cultivator Trading Association. This way, it can serve as a deterrent. Okay, but I don't know anyone from the Cultivator Trading Association, so I need you to help me contact them. This way, we don't need to advertise and do publicity. With the Cultivator Trading Association spreading the news, it will save me some publicity costs, Lu Jinghan said. Okay, I'll contact the Cultivator Trading Association now. Lin Yi nodded. After hanging up Lu Jinghan's call, Lin Yi directly called Vice President Ouyang. Mr. Ling, how have you been? Did the Dongfang family cause you trouble? Vice President Ouyang hadn't contacted Lin Yi since he parted ways with Lin Yi last time, so he was a little worried. I didn't dare to take the initiative to call you during this period of time, but now that I heard your voice, I'm relieved. High-quality updates are here. Vice President Ouyang's true feelings touched Lin Yi. Vice President Ouyang, I'm fine. I've already killed that Dongfang hard, and the Dongfang family hasn't caused me any trouble yet. That's good, Vice President Ouyang said. Oh right, recently, the ancient Dongfang family and the ancient Feng family have sent people to the Cultivator Trading Association to ask about you. How did you offend the ancient Feng family? That's nothing. We've had enmity for a long time. It's fine, Lin Yi said indifferently. Vice President Ouyang, I'm calling you this time because I want to talk to you about business. Oh, business? Vice President Ouyang was slightly taken aback. Then he smiled bitterly and said, Mr. Lin, as you know, the elixir business is really out of the question. Recently, the Heavenly Elixir sect has sent a large number of Level 1 and Level 2 elixir pills, especially the Level 1 elixir pills. It won't be a problem to sell them until this time next year. Furthermore, the Heavenly Elixir sect doesn't need us to settle the accounts in cash. They just need to send the goods over and settle the accounts when they are sold. Such a good preferential policy, I really can't change anything. After all, this is a good thing for the Cultivator Trade Association to earn money. Besides, I really can't change anything. The high-quality updates are coming soon. Hee. Vice President Ouyang, the business I want to discuss with you this time is not the elixir business, but the medicine cauldron business. Lenny said. Medicine cauldron? Vice President Ouyang was a little stunned after hearing it. Mr. Ling, do you mean that you have a medicine cauldron to sell? This is not a problem, but the medicine cauldron is not a bestseller. Very few people buy it. After all, this thing is not a consumable. As long as it is not a beginner, it is rare for the cauldron to explode. My medicine cauldron is different from ordinary medicine cauldrons. It can't be explained in a few words. How about this? I will go to see you now and tell you personally, said Lin Yi. How about this? Let's arrange a place. I will meet you outside. Now, there are some trusted aides from the headquarters here at the Cultivator Trade Association. If you come at this time, I'm afraid it will be bad for you. Vice President Ouyang thought about it and said, Okay, then let's meet at the tea house at the foot of the mountain. Lin Yi said, At the foot of the mountain of the Cultivator Trade Association, there is a small village with a relatively large tea house. Some storytelling, crosstalk, and the like were performed all day. Lin Yi arranged to meet at this place. Okay, then I will go over now. Vice President Ouyang said, I know the owner of the tea house. I will go and ask for a private room first. Okay, then see you later. Lin Yi hung up the phone and rushed to the tea house near the Cultivator Trade Association's market with a mass-produced rank 1 automatic medicine cauldron sent by Lu Jinghan. As soon as he arrived at the tea house and parked the car, a young man dressed as a disciple of the Cultivator Trade Association walked over to Lin Yi's car. Is this Mr. Ling? It's me. Lin Yi had seen this disciple beside Vice President Ouyang before. He should be Vice President Ouyang's trusted aide. So he nodded. Did Vice President Ouyang send you? Yes. The Vice President is already waiting in the private room. Mr. Ling, this way, please, the disciple said and made a gesture of invitation. Lin Yi followed the disciple all the way to a private room on the second floor of the tea house. The disciple knocked on the door, then opened the door to let Lin Yi in, and retreated. Obviously, he would not participate in the conversation between Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang. Mr. Ling, you are here. Vice President Ouyang stood up with a smile and greeted Lin Yi. Vice President Ouyang, thank you for coming. Although Lin Yi was confident that after taking out the rank 1 automatic medicine cauldron, Vice President Ouyang would be happy to cooperate with him. After all, the thing had not been taken out yet. Vice President Ouyang showed such an attitude, which made Lin Yi very touched. There's business coming to my door, so I naturally have to take the initiative. Moreover, with our current relationship, there is no need to be so polite. Mr. Ling, what is the medicine cauldron you mentioned? Vice President Ouyang waved his hand and said indifferently, It is this thing. As Lin Yi said this, he took out the rank 1 automatic medicine cauldron from his backpack. This was a 10-in-1 limited edition auction. Lin Yi was not going to take it away today, but he planned to leave it for Vice President Ouyang to use as a promotional sample. After all, no matter how miraculous this thing was advertised, without the real thing, those ancient sects and hidden houses would probably think that it was just boasting. After all, scientific alchemy was just too unbelievable. If it wasn't for the fact that this thing really existed, those alchemists probably wouldn't have believed it. This medicine cauldron is very strange. Why is there a display on it? Vice President Ouyang asked after seeing the medicine cauldron in Lin Yi's hand. Chapter 31-23. Vice President Ouyang didn't pay much attention to it first, but when he heard Lin Yi say that this thing could automatically refine pills, he suddenly became interested. The more he heard, the more shocked he became. This thing was simply a heaven-defying artifact. Didn't that mean that as long as one was an alchemist, they could refine pills? Even alchemists without wood attributes could use this medicine cauldron to refine pills? As long as one could skillfully control the alchemy fire, they could refine a first-grade pill with a 100% success rate. This medicine cauldron could simply replace the market for first-grade pills. After all, who would buy someone else's if they could refine it themselves? No matter how cheap the first-grade pills from Heavenly Elixir Sect were, the markup rate would not be low if they were resold from the Cultivators Trade Association. How could it be as economical as refining one's own? Moreover, if they refined it themselves, they could refine it whenever they wanted. There is no need to worry about not being able to buy it or having no stock for an emergency. Mr. Ling, what you said, is it true? It was no wonder that Vice President Ouyang would doubt it. After all, no one would easily believe it because this thing was a little too magical. The degree of magical had exceeded the understanding of normal cultivators. Therefore, this thing was taken out by Lin Yi. Vice President Ouyang also felt that Lin Yi would not lie to him, but he still asked this question. It's absolutely true. Lin Yi nodded and said, if Vice President Ouyang doesn't believe it, you can find an alchemist to personally test it. Okay. Vice President Ouyang did not refuse because he also wanted to witness the magic of this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron. Therefore, he took out his phone and dialed the number of the disciple who was at the door. Little Duo, give Little Kong a call and ask him to come to my room immediately. Little Kong that Vice President Ouyang spoke of. He was the alchemy examiner of the Cultivators Trade Association. The so-called alchemy examiner was a disciple who had learned alchemy and was very good at it. However, because he did not have what attributes in his body, he could not become an alchemist. However, it was no problem for him to be an alchemy examiner responsible for checking pills. The alchemy examiner only needed to judge the quality of the pills, and Little Kong was the alchemy examiner under Vice President Ouyang. Very soon, the sound of knocking came from outside the box. Vice President Ouyang said, "Come in." A thin and weak young man walked in and said respectfully, "Vice President Ouyang, this disciple is here. May I ask why you are looking for this disciple?" "Of course there is. I want you to test something." Vice President Ouyang said, "Mr. Ling, please tell me how to use this thing. Talk to Little Kong." "Okay." Lin Yi nodded. He pointed at the first-grade automatic cauldron in front of him and said to Shao Kong, "This is a first-grade cauldron. However, this medicinal cauldron's function is to automatically refine pills." Automatic alchemy? Little Kong's eyes widened. He looked in disbelief at the direction Lin Yi was pointing at. He couldn't quite believe his ears. "Mr. Ling, did I hear that right? A medicinal cauldron that can automatically refine pills?" "You didn't hear wrong." Lin Yi smiled and said, "However, although this medicinal cauldron is called an automatic medicinal cauldron, it doesn't mean that it can refine pills without human intervention. Instead, it can turn some of the steps of refining pills into automatic and increase the success rate of refining pills." As he said that, Lin Yi explained how to use the automatic first-grade medicinal cauldron to Little Kong. Little Kong was an alchemist, so he naturally understood what Lin Yi meant. His eyes flashed with eagerness. It was because his body lacked the wood attribute that he became an alchemist. One must know that without the wood attribute, no matter how good one's control of the alchemy fire was, they could only rely on luck when refining pills because they couldn't feel the changes in the medicinal cauldron. But now, the automatic first-grade medicinal cauldron that Lin Yi mentioned didn't have these requirements at all. The intensity of the alchemy fire was completely adjusted by the medicinal cauldron. There was also a time and temperature curve on the medicinal cauldron to indicate the temperature of the alchemy fire that the alchemist should use at this moment. This way, an alchemist with a little experience, or an alchemist like Little Kong, could successfully refine a first-grade pill. Can I try it now?" Little Kong asked eagerly. Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang wanted Little Kong to test it, and Little Kong himself also wanted to try this good thing as soon as possible to fulfill his dream of becoming an alchemist. "Of course, I asked you to come here to test it," Vice President Ouyang said. "Then, this thing can't be broken, right?" Little Kong was a little timid. Although he didn't know the value of this thing, he had been in the Cultivator Trading Association's market all year round. He knew that this was a heaven-defying artifact when he heard it. This thing must have a sky-high price. If it was broken, he couldn't afford to pay for it, even if he was beaten to death. "No, If you can break it easily, what value does this thing have? Lenny smiled and said, You can experiment. I have a set of refining materials for the spirit-gathering pill here. You can try refining it. Oh, it's the spirit-gathering pill? Little Kong was a little surprised and timid. This spirit-gathering pill is considered a medium difficulty elixir among the first-grade elixirs. During the process, you have to change the fire several times. Is there a simple first-grade elixir, such as the resurrection pill? The so-called resurrection pill was a healing elixir that was a grade lower than the small rejuvenation pill. However, because the effect was not obvious, very few alchemists would refine it. It was only used as an introduction to alchemy for disciples to refine. Even if you want to test this elixir, I don't have the materials for you to test. I only have the spirit-gathering pill in my hands, Lenny said with a bitter smile. Then, I'll try it. Little Kong glanced at the medicine cauldron and asked nervously, It's okay. Try it. As long as you can control the temperature of the alchemy fire, you will definitely succeed. Lenny smiled and encouraged him. Okay. Little Kong took a deep breath and then eagerly picked up the automatic first-grade medicine cauldron in front of him. He followed the instructions on it and put the materials for the spirit-gathering pill into the medicine cauldron. Then, according to the instructions on the medicine cauldron, he pressed the button for spirit-gathering pill. After that, the circuit of the automatic first-grade medicine cauldron was activated. On the screen, the words spirit-gathering pill automatic refining were displayed. Below, it was a line of instructions for the alchemist to place his palm on the area to condense the alchemy fire and begin to condense the fire-type alchemy fire. Little Kong quickly followed the instructions and placed his hand on the designated area. Then, he began to condense the fire-type alchemy fire. Beep! The automatic first-grade medicine cauldron emitted a buzzing sound. On the screen, the words fire-type alchemy fire identification normal. Automatic alchemy system starting appeared. Chapter 31:24. Then, at the bottom right corner of the screen, 2 temperature prompts and a countdown timer appeared. The temperature at the front was the specified temperature, while the temperature at the back was the actual temperature. The alchemist only needed to control the actual temperature to the specified temperature within the specified countdown timer. Therefore, this first-grade automatic cauldron was quite simple and convenient to refine pills. As long as the alchemist was literate and knew how to control the alchemic fire, then adjust the alchemic fire's temperature according to the prompts, it would be fine. Even if the alchemist felt that the temperature was not correct, there would be actual prompts on the screen, which would reduce the error. Shao Kong was surprised by the intelligence of this first-grade automatic cauldron. But in his excitement, he quickly followed the prompts on the screen and quickly adjusted the alchemic fire's temperature to the same as the specified temperature. At the same time, another countdown timer appeared. Before the next pill refining prompt appears, please maintain the current temperature until the countdown ends. The next pill refining temperature will be XX degrees. Alchemist, please be prepared to change the temperature in advance. And above the countdown timer, there was such a prompt, which made it clear to the alchemist at a glance. It was very human-like. Shao Kong had never seen such a simple pill refining method. As long as he followed the prompts and changed the alchemic fire's temperature, it would be fine. There was no need to consider the intensity of the fire, and there was no need to practice refining a certain pill in advance. As everyone knew, in order to refine a certain pill, many alchemists would waste some materials to simulate and try before refining a certain pill. A good alchemist would fail once or twice, and a weak apprentice would probably waste many attempts to find the feeling and pattern. But a first-grade automatic cauldron did not need to find the feeling, nor did it need to know the steps of pill refining. There were prompts on the screen, no matter how to refine a pill. It was a completely idiotic operation. This not only shocked Shao Kong, even Vice President Ouyang was dumbfounded. If this thing really went on the market, one could imagine what kind of terrifying attention it would attract. When that time came, not only would the hidden aristocratic families, ordinary sects, ancient aristocratic families, and ancient sects fight to buy it, Even some rogue cultivators who could condense alchemic fire would come to buy it. They would also come to buy it. Vice President Ouyang had been in contact with treasures and artifacts all year round. Naturally, he knew how powerful this first-grade automatic cauldron was. This kind of thing brought endless profits and influence. Now, the only thing left to do was to see if the first-grade automatic cauldron could successfully refine elixirs. Vice President Ouyang was very nervous. In fact, Lin Yi was also very nervous. Although Lin Yi trusted Han Jingjing and knew that this first-grade automatic cauldron should not have any problems, Lin Yi could not personally experiment. Lin Yi could not change the temperature of the alchemy fire. This first-grade automatic medicine cauldron was useless to Lin Yi. Therefore, Lin Yi asked Vice President Ouyang to find a disciple to experiment on. Time ticked by. Finally, a notification appeared on the LCD screen of the medicine cauldron. The spirit-gathering pill has been successfully refined. Please stop condensing the pill fire and open the cauldron. Take out the pill. That's it. Little Kong was a little surprised. Although he strictly followed the instructions on the cauldron screen along the way, he did not have much confidence in himself. After all, he was an alchemy tester, not an alchemy master, and he had not been in contact with alchemy for a long time. Even when he had just started learning alchemy, it was impossible to successfully refine the spirit-gathering pill, let alone now. However, Little Kong still opened the lid of the medicine cauldron as instructed. Suddenly, a medicinal fragrance came from the medicine cauldron and filled the entire room. Everyone present, whether it was Lin Yi, Vice President Ouyang, or Little Kong, were not stupid. Only when the pill was successfully refined and the medicine cauldron was opened would there be a fragrance. If the refinement failed, there would be a burnt smell. It actually succeeded? Vice President Ouyang's eyes widened. He looked at the medicine cauldron in Little Kong's hands and was very excited. This pill was refined under his nose using his own disciple. It was impossible for there to be a trace of fraud. Therefore, the only explanation was that this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron was worthy of its name. Pill Halo. There's actually Pill Halo on a first-grade elixir? Little Kong carefully took out the spirit-gathering pill from the first-grade automatic medicine cauldron. However, when the elixir was in his hand, he let out a cry of surprise. How is this possible? Why is it not possible? What's the fuss about Pill Halo? All the elixirs that Mr. Ling provided in the past had Pill Halo. Vice President Ouyang said, and felt that something was wrong. What? You're saying that this automatically refined elixir also has Pill Halo? Yes, Vice President, look. As he spoke, Little Kong showed the elixir in his hand to Vice President Ouyang. Hiss. As expected, it's Pill Halo. Moreover, the color and roundness of this elixir can be said to be of the highest quality. Vice President Ouyang was very shocked. Although the quality of the first-grade elixir provided by Kong Ming was mostly the same, it was refined by a high-level alchemist from the Heavenly Elixir sect. How could it be compared to an ordinary disciple like Little Kong? This was all the credit of the first-grade automatic medicine cauldron. Thinking of this, Vice President Ouyang wanted to pick up the first-grade automatic medicine cauldron in front of him and kiss it. He exclaimed, "It's an artifact." However, with Lin Yi present, Vice President Ouyang could only restrain himself no matter how excited he was. He asked Lin Yi in disbelief, "Mr. Ling, have you really decided to give this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron to the Cultivators Trade Association? What kind of price do we have to pay?" Vice President Ouyang, "I think you've misunderstood. I brought this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron because I want to cooperate with you. Cooperation is a win-win situation. You don't have to pay any price." Linny smiled and said, "You can auction it normally and take a cut. To be honest, Mr. Ling, even if we don't take a cut, if this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron is auctioned here, it can also bring unimaginable fame and popularity to the Cultivators Trade Association. Therefore, we're auctioning it for free. Logically speaking, we still have to pay some price." Vice President Ouyang said with a sigh. However, Mr. Ling, we're not strangers. Since you said so, I won't refuse. That's for sure. The Cultivators Trade Association isn't solely decided by you, Vice President Ouyang. However, with the credit of our long-term cooperation, I think promotion won't be a problem. This was also what Lin Yi valued. The higher Vice President Ouyang's position, the more advantageous it was for Lin Yi. Chapter 31-25. After all, most of Lin Yi's underlings were in the hidden plane. No matter how high the level of heaven and earth treasures were, it was impossible for them to get their hands on them. Moreover, Lin Yi had not reached the level where he could completely control the ancient plane. Even if he had a few underlings, it was only a personal relationship. Their families would not support him fully. Therefore, Lin Yi chose to cooperate with Vice President Ouyang and gave up a portion of the profits. Of course, more importantly, the Cultivator Trade Association was participating in this business, so it was impossible for any rascals to covet it. Moreover, Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang were life and death buddies. He was a worthy friend, so Lin Yi was not stingy with these things. Mr. Ling, since that's the case, I won't hold back. May I ask, how do we cooperate? Vice President Ouyang was not pretentious. He nodded and asked directly. My company produces 3 different types of cauldrons. One is the first-grade automatic cauldron single-in-one edition. Another is the 5-in-1 edition. And the last one is the 10-in-1 edition of the first-grade automatic cauldron in front of you, Vice President Ouyang. Lin Yi said, the first 2 are sold by our company, while the last one is handed over to the Cultivator Trade Association, where Vice President Ouyang is at to auction. For the first 2 types, there are 5 types of first-grade automatic medicine cauldrons in a single version, which is the same as the 5-in-1 version of a first-grade automatic medicine cauldron. However, the one you have here has added 5 types of elixirs that our company doesn't have. Vice President Ouyang originally heard that Lin Yi's company also had sales, and he was a little disappointed. What was the difference between 10-in-1 and 5-in-1? Wouldn't it be fine to just buy 2 5-in-1 versions or 10 single versions? In that case, who would buy from him? However, Lin Yi had said that Lin Yi's company only sold Tier 1 automatic medicinal cauldrons for 5 types of elixirs. Whether it was a 5-in-1 or a single version, if one wanted to buy a Tier 1 automatic medicinal cauldron for the other 5 types of elixirs, he could only come to the Cultivator Trade Association. Thinking of this, Vice President Ouyang also understood what Lin Yi meant. He could not help but give a thumbs up. Brilliant, really brilliant. Our auctions here are not held at any time. We have to prepare for a period of time in advance. During this period of time, we can only advertise. But what if the cultivators who see the advertisement are eager to buy? He could only purchase the simple 5-in-1 or single-in-1 edition from Mr. Ling for emergencies. He wanted a 10-in-1 limited edition with complete functions. You can only wait to buy it from us. This way, they could maximize their profits. Mr. Ling, you're really made for doing business. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. This wasn't his idea. It was Yushu and Han Jingjing's. What does this have to do with me? But at this time, he could only smile and nod. Furthermore, in order to be fair and to prevent people from secretly changing hands, the first-grade automatic medicine cauldrons sold have a master recognition function. When an alchemist refines pills for the first time, it will lock onto the alchemist's pill fire parameters. It's impossible. No way. It even has a binding function? Vice President Ouyang was stunned. Then he gave a thumbs up. Mr. Ling, your business is really amazing. This way, if a sect has 2 alchemists, they can only buy 2. If there are more than 1 disciple, they have to buy more. It's really difficult not to earn money. Lin Yi smiled. However, this sample that I gave you doesn't recognize the owner. Anyone can test it, and it's also convenient for Vice President Ouyang to advertise. Of course, this thing can't be sold. Vice President Ouyang, you should know this. Don't worry, Mr. Ling, I will definitely keep it safe. It's impossible to snatch something from the hands of our Cultivator Trade Association. Vice President Ouyang patted his chest and guaranteed. Lin Yi believed Vice President Ouyang's words. After all, there were so many heaven and earth treasures in the Cultivator Trade Association that people coveted. If they really snatched it, then the Cultivator Trade Association didn't need to exist anymore. Thinking of this, Lin Yi couldn't help but be curious about the background behind the Cultivator Trade Association. So many ancient sects, even the Five-Element sect, where Elder Xianshan was, didn't have any ideas about the Cultivator Trade Association. The power behind the Cultivator Trade Association probably couldn't be underestimated. This was also the reason why Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang were on good terms. Moreover, Lin Yi vaguely knew that there was a backer behind Vice President Ouyang, who was the higher-ups of the Cultivator Trade Association. As long as these relationships were properly managed, they would become Lin Yi's help in setting foot on the ancient level. That's good. I'm still very assured about Vice President Ouyang. Lin Yi smiled. Mr. Ling, since our relationship is so close, you don't have to call me Vice President Ouyang. I'm a few decades older. If you don't mind, you can call me Brother Ouyang. Vice President Ouyang smiled. However, Vice President Ouyang's words almost made Lin Yi burst out laughing. A few decades older? Most people would say that a few years older and then call him brother. But when it came to Vice President Ouyang, it became a few decades older. However, this was also a normal phenomenon in the cultivation world. Vice President Ouyang was only in his early 40s. According to the seniority of the cultivators, he was still an upright young man. Excluding the disciples of those ancient families and ancient sects, there could be a heaven stage master in their teens. Vice President Ouyang, a heaven stage master in his 40s, was already very young. Therefore, there was no problem at all for Lin Yi to call him Brother Ouyang. Moreover, Lin Yi was also a heaven stage master. All right, then I'll call you Brother Ouyang. Lin Yi nodded and said, however, since it's a sincere cooperation, then I'll also tell Brother Ouyang my real name. Ling Yi is actually just an alias I use outside. My real name is Lin Yi. What? You're Lin Yi? When Vice President Ouyang heard the name Lin Yi, he couldn't help but tremble. He pointed at Lin Yi and said in disbelief, Lin Yi, no wonder, Brother Ouyang. Why do you have such an expression? Is there a problem? Lin Yi looked at Vice President Ouyang strangely and said, actually, I didn't mean to deceive Brother Ouyang. During the trial, I always use the name Lin Yi. I know that. It's nothing. Vice President Ouyang waved his hand. Obviously, he didn't care about Lin Yi's alias. Instead, he said in shock, you're the legendary rogue cultivator who trampled on the everyday and everyday sect until they couldn't fight back. It seems so. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. But I'm not a rogue cultivator. I only fought with a disciple. Chapter 31:26. I've heard a lot about you. Ouyang wasn't being polite. It was the truth. He'd heard about Lin Yi's fight with Zhang Nai Peo. After all these years, there wasn't a single person in the world who could make the everyday and everyday sects suffer loss. Other than the two legends from a decade ago, the Killer Kong twin, who else could do that? Even Vice President Ouyang didn't dare to provoke the disciples of the everyday and everyday sect. It wasn't that the Cultivator Trade Association was afraid of them, but if Vice President Ouyang provoked them, the Cultivator Trade Association wouldn't stand up for him. After all, old ancestor Madbull of the everyday and everyday sect was friends with the Cultivator Trade Association's Grand Elder Honorary President. Brother Lin, I didn't think that the legend was you. Vice President Ouyang had suffered a loss at the hands of the everyday and everyday sect disciples in his early years. When he was young, he participated in a trial organized by the Cultivator Trade Association and fought with the pure, heavenly venerable of the everyday and everyday sect. If it weren't for the elder of the second vice president, the pure, heavenly venerable wouldn't dare to kill him. Then Vice President Ouyang might not have returned alive. And so, towards Lin Yi, who could defeat the disciples of the everyday and everyday sect, Ouyang respected him very much. He called Lin Brother Lin. Why do you call me Brother Lin? Lin paused. We're both practitioners, and those who reach the top of the martial path take precedence. You call me Brother Ouyang, and I call you Brother Lin. It's normal since we're both Sky-class masters. Ouyang said matter-of-factly. Lin nodded, not bothering with the terms of address. He asked curiously, Brother Ouyang, it seems like you have a grudge against the everyday and everyday sect. Oh, that's right. I won't hide it from you, Brother Lin. I once fought with the pure, heavenly lord of the everyday and everyday sect in the Cultivator Association's trial, and I lost miserably. If it wasn't for the fact that I was an elder in the Grand Supreme Elder Council, and the pure, heavenly lord didn't dare to touch me, I would have died a horrible death. Vice President Ouyang said with emotion, so, Brother Lin really helped me vent my anger. The Cultivator Trade Association's trial? What is that? Lin, he was slightly stunned and asked. Oh, you actually don't know? Vice President Ouyang looked at Lin with some surprise. This is a trial that all the disciples of the ancient times know about. You? Oh, that's right. You're a loose cultivator. That's right. What is this trial for? Lin, he asked curiously. After all, every trial was more or less a fortuitous encounter for the trial takers, and it was very likely that they would obtain unimaginable benefits. Just like the trials of the Ice Palace and the Heavenly Elixir School that Lin had participated in, they were all the same. The location of this trial is called Primordial Island. Vice President Ouyang didn't hide anything and directly introduced Primordial Island. It is the only relic left in the entire ancient level that can be discovered. I also don't know how the Cultivator Trade Association found it in the first place, and they also know how to open this Primordial Island and enter the trial of Primordial Island. You can search for the treasures that you need. There are many precious herbs and some treasures left from the ancient era. As long as you find it, it will be yours. Of course, others can also snatch it, and when you come out, you need to pay. Pay? You can get these things just by buying them with money? Lin, he was slightly stunned. Isn't that a sky-high price? It's not like that. Vice President Ouyang smiled slightly and said, It's true that it's very expensive, but our Cultivator Trade Association is a business. Our goal is to make money. So there are specialized elders to evaluate the value of the things that the trial takers bring out from Primordial Island, but there definitely won't be any heaven-defined price. After all, the Cultivator Trade Association's reputation is there. Lin nodded and then reacted. The Cultivator Trade Association was an organization that sought money, so it was understandable that they used this trial to make money. However, what made Lin feel strange was where did this Primordial Island come from? But Vice President Ouyang obviously didn't know about these things, so Lin naturally wouldn't ask. He just asked, Will this trial start soon? This trial is held irregularly, so there isn't much time. After all, to open the Primordial Island, there are many conditions, such as the right time, the right place, and the right people. It can't be opened at any time. Vice President Ouyang said, In our Cultivator Trade Association, there are people who are responsible for studying the Primordial Island. They will infer the approximate opening time based on some of the phenomena on the Primordial Island, and then organize the trial takers to register. So it's like this. Lin nodded and said, Is there any limit to the registration? Can I go too? Of course. The condition is that all Heaven Stage experts can participate. Brother Lin has already met this requirement. You only need to pay the entrance fee of 1 billion yuan. Vice President Ouyang said. Cough, cough, cough. After Lin heard Vice President Ouyang's words, he suddenly coughed loudly. I say, Brother Ouyang, did I hear wrong? 1 billion? And it's just the entrance fee? You didn't hear wrong. Vice President Ouyang smiled bitterly and said, I've said it before. The Cultivator Trade Association won't quote any heaven-defying price that people can't accept, but it definitely won't be cheap. It really isn't cheap. Lin also smiled bitterly and said with emotion, This 1 billion, at least for now, I can't take it out. Haha. But with this first-grade automatic medicine cauldron in your hands, I believe this money is not a problem for Brother Lin. Vice President Ouyang said with a smile. Why? Brother Lin is very interested in this trial. According to what Brother Ouyang said, there's so many good things in it. I think any cultivator will be interested, right? Linny nodded and asked, when was the last time it was held? 25 years ago. According to the time calculation, it should be around the same time. The opening time of this primordial island is generally between 20 to 30 years. Vice President Ouyang said. 25 years ago. At that time, Brother Ouyang was already a heaven stage expert. Then now, Lin Yi looked at Vice President Ouyang with a strange look and asked curiously. It was no wonder that Lin Yi would feel strange, because 25 years ago, Vice President Ouyang was already a heaven stage. Then he was only at the peak of the early stage of heaven stage. This was a bit unrealistic, right? Chapter 31:27. Haha, I knew Brother Lin would ask this. I won't hide it from you. Because of my elder in the Supreme Elder Council, I was also nurtured as an important disciple of the Cultivator Trade Association. I was only 19 or 20 years old at the time, which is Brother Lin's age, but I was already a heaven rank early stage expert. Speaking of this, Vice President Ouyang was a little proud. However, when he recalled that Lin Yi was also in the heaven rank early stage, he could only smile bitterly. Brother Lin is now a rogue cultivator. There's a world of difference between us and sect disciples. To be able to become a heaven rank early stage expert at Brother Lin's age proves that Brother Lin is extraordinary. Lin Yi waved his hand, indicating for Vice President Ouyang to stop praising him. Brother Ouyang, let's talk about yourself. All right, back when I participated in the Cultivator Trade Association's trial, I won't talk about the details. During the trial, the pure, heavenly venerable of the everyday sect injured me. Although he spared my life, he injured my meridians. This is also the reason why I haven't made much progress in the past few years. Until now, my meridians haven't healed, and my name has been removed from the Cultivator Trade Association's list of key disciples to be nurtured. If it wasn't for my elder who helped me get some elixirs from time to time, I wouldn't have been able to recover from my injuries, let alone become a heaven rank early stage expert. Vice President Ouyang said emotionally. Although I have an irreconcilable hatred with the pure, heavenly venerable, I am no longer his match. I heard that the pure, heavenly venerable is in seclusion to reach the peak of the heaven rank late stage. Although he might not succeed due to his age and experience, even if he fails, I can only look up to him. He is also an existence that I can only look up to now. It is impossible for me to take revenge now. And as I said, the everyday sect is related to the Cultivator Trade Association's Supreme Elder Honorary President. It's impossible for the Cultivator Trade Association to stand up for me. Even my elder can't do it. If I want to seek revenge, I have to do it myself. After all, this is a grudge formed during the trial. We can't break the rules. Vice President Ouyang's words made Lin Yi nod his head. It seemed that it would be very difficult to take revenge for him. Brother Ouyang, my condolences. Lin Yi did not know how to comfort him. It's okay. I've already thought it through. I can't take revenge on my own, but if there's a day when someone can help me take revenge, I'll do it for you. I will definitely recognize that person as my master. I will always be at his beck and call to repay him. Vice President Ouyang said. Take revenge personally? Why can't I? Lin Yi asked back. My meridians. His injuries were severe. Although he had mostly recovered after years of recuperation, he was still unable to fully recover. However, there are some that could not be recovered unless the old injuries of these meridians were completely healed. I can directly advance to the mid-stage of the heaven rank and continue to cultivate. Otherwise, this would be the limit of my strength. Vice President Ouyang shook his head and helplessly said, Shao Kong, you go out first. I have something to say to Vice President Ouyang. Lin Yi waved his hand to the pill tester disciple and said. However, Shao Kong was engrossed in studying the first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. He turned a deaf ear to Lin Yi's words as if he didn't hear it at all. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. He had underestimated the attraction of such a divine tool to an alchemist. But this was also a good thing. One could imagine what kind of sales frenzy this medicinal cauldron would cause after it went on the market. Shao Kong, you go out first. I have something to talk to Brother Lin. Vice President Ouyang reprimanded. Although this Shao Kong was also his confidant, otherwise he wouldn't be allowed to test this first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. However, Vice President Ouyang also knew that what Lin Yi was going to say next was probably confidential. He couldn't let Shao Kong know. Shao Kong was awakened by the sudden shout and looked at Vice President Ouyang blankly. Vice President, what's wrong? You go out first. I have something to talk to Brother Lin. Vice President Ouyang said. Yes. Although Shao Kong nodded, his eyes were still lingering on the first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron on the table. He was a little reluctant to part with it. You take it out to study it. Lin Yi waved his hand. You take it out to study it. Lin Yi waved his hand and said indifferently, the disciple from before is also a master at the peak of the late phase of Earth class. Here, there shouldn't be anyone who would dare to repair the Cultivator Trade Association's things, right? Of course not. Vice President Ouyang said, no one has ever dared to anger the Cultivator Trade Association. Mr. Ling, you can rest assured. Shao Kong, why aren't you thanking Mr. Ling? Thank you, Mr. Ling. Shao Kong held the first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron and couldn't bear to let it go. Once he picked it up, he didn't want to put it down. After all, this was a treasure that could make him an excellent first-grade alchemist. It seemed that he didn't hear Lin Yi's words at all. He didn't know that Lin Yi's surname was Lin. He thought that his surname was Ling. Brother Ouyang, I think this medicinal cauldron should be looked after by Shao Kong in the future. When the time comes, let him be responsible for the demonstration. Lin Yi said faintly. Shao Kong was stunned. In this way, this medicinal cauldron would be almost the same as his personal property. He was at a loss for what to do. Shao Kong, why aren't you thanking Mr. Lin? Vice President Ouyang said quickly. Thank you, Mr. Ling. Shao Kong thanked him with inexplicable joy. Vice President Ouyang was too lazy to correct Shao Kong's slip of the tongue. He waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. After Shao Kong left happily, only Lin Yi and Vice President Ouyang were left in the room. Vice President Ouyang said, Brother Lin, you can say it now. I can cure your injury. Lin Yi's words were shocking. As soon as he said it, Vice President Ouyang was shocked. You can cure it? How is this possible? I am injured because my meridians are broken, not in other aspects. Unless there is the legendary 4th grade Great Huandan, but that is a legendary existence. Vice President Ouyang asked with some shock and confusion. I don't have the 4th grade Great Huandan, but I have a way to cure your injury. Lin Yi said, but this matter, please keep it a secret, Brother Ouyang. Of course, although Vice President Ouyang was shocked, after listening to Lin Yi's words, he still nodded and said, I will definitely keep it a secret, but what method do you have to cure the injured meridians? You just don't move. As Lin Yi said this, he reached out and grabbed the pulse of Vice President Ouyang's wrist. This made Vice President Ouyang suddenly shocked. If he didn't know that Lin Yi wouldn't harm him, and even if Lin Yi wanted to harm him, he wouldn't have the strength to resist, he would really be scared to death. So you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.